Hello and welcome to NFL Corner episode 11. We are live on the Sports Corner YouTube channel. Welcome to Draft Day. It's been the time that we've been waiting for since over a month now. And as you can see, we're getting the slide ready because we have both set up our mock draft for... Oh.
Indeed. Go on, keep talking.
No, it's all right. So this will be Will's mock draft 3.0. He's done 2 previously for the channel, but because it was basically we're going live later tonight for anyone that doesn't know at 12 midnight. So please UK time. So please do join us tonight as we live react to the draft. But we thought we'd do one more final mock draft before we get going for tonight's show. So we've got Will's mock draft 3.0. He's included trades. And it's my first mock draft, so we've done no trades. So we can kind of give you a bit of both, really. What could happen if people traded in the first round, and what could happen if no one traded. Someone will trade, but we'll speak in the hypothetical circumstances. How excited are you, Will, for draft day? That's my first question.
I'm super excited. I've been waiting for this for a long time now, and I'm just happy to see it. Really happy to see it. And I'm interested to see what goes down because I think there's going to be plenty of trades now. There always are in the first round, but we can do all as many mock drafts as we want, as many predictions as we want, but there's going to be shocks and there's going to be unexpected picks. I just can't wait for it.
Yeah, and this is our basically we have to set ourselves in that GM role. We don't know what they're thinking. I mean, let's be fair. The sort of circus surrounding quarterbacks at 5 and 6, it seems like the most talked about 2 pairs of picks in who's going to go with who? Is it Tua or is it Herbert? Or, where will some of the higher prospects drop? Because we know 5 and 6 are going to be quarterbacks pretty much. Will the Dolphins shock us because they don't even want Tua anymore? Even though they were tanking for him.
Well, there's rumours they might be moving up to pick number 3 to try and get an offensive tackle. So they're going to try and move it to pick 3 without giving away pick 5. So do they want the offensive tackle and then do they want to get the quarterback at pick 5? But do the Lions also want to move that far down the draft? Yeah, they'll be getting some great compensation, but they might want to keep that top 10 pick and still get someone like an Okudah or a Simmons. So we'll have to see how that shapes out. But I've just seen a report from Kieran and Raphael coming from Bleacher Report, and it says that the Lions have engaged with multiple teams on moving out of number 3 with talks heating up over the last 24 hours. So it's looking more and more likely that someone's going to trade up to number 3 and try and get a quarterback on an offensive tackle, but we'll have to see who it is. But as of right now, I'm not certain who that person is, and I'm not certain who that team is that wants to trade up.
I'm not sure because if it is the Miami Dolphins and they don't want to give pick 5, they're dropping from 3 to 18. I think they need a hefty bit alongside that to gather up 15 positions. It wouldn't be too bad if they were moving from 5 to 3. They could probably just interchange, and they wouldn't really miss out on too much. But you're talking a big drop. I'd be interested to see who needs to trade up because some people highly regard certain players. I think that wide receiver we're talking about, the elite 3, it'll be interesting to see which teams get hot feet when 2 of them have gone. And there's only one on the board, and we'll see if any trades go down. Because I'm pretty sure I won't talk about your mock draft yet, but I've got a feeling that San Francisco are trying to get rid of one of their picks. I'm not sure which they'll get rid of, but I think one of them's going. But as my no trades, I had to kind of plug the gaps because I don't think they're going to have to. But that's what they got given because they traded away DeForest Buckner. Yeah, indeed. Should we get right into it? Because I'm getting hot feet about this draft because this is our final NFL Corner mock drafts before tonight's granddaddy of them all. So we will start with the first 5 picks.
And it's from your mock draft as well.
It is. It's the no trade Kieran mock draft.
So the one you see on the left of the PowerPoint, that's the one that's coming up first. And it's like I said, it's Kieran's first ever mock draft.
It is. And I'll admit it was the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever done in my life. But if you want to switch the one over, Will, if you want to pass it over to slide number 1.
And I must say, I did have a lot of fun making this PowerPoint.
It looks brilliant. It honestly looks brilliant, honestly. So we'll start with I don't want to say the simple picks, but number one, the Cincinnati Bengals select Joe Burrow, quarterback, LSU. I mean, he's got the timing, the anticipation, he's got the football IQ, which he's got an aura of a franchise quarterback about him. He seems to have that confidence. I mean, even rushing, he can get the ball moving forward and get the chains moving on offense. And the Bengals need this. Andy Dalton, he was okay last year with what he had, but let's be fair, it was poor. That's why they are the first pick. They were 2-14. They need something. But I'm looking at this Bengals team, and I think if they do draft in Joe Burrow, you've got some weapons. You've got Tyler Boyd, AJ Green, Auden Tate. It's not a bad sort of little pillar to work from going forward. Will he take them to the playoffs in the first year? No. But I do definitely think this is the pick for number one.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's been the number one pick, contenders' number one pick for a while now, and the Bengals, they just need to get that new franchise quarterback in. And like you mentioned, they still have the weapons there. They've also still got Joe Mixon in the backfield. They might look to maybe draft another running back, but they still got him there. And the offensive line could do with a bit of work as well, to come in and protect Burrow. But this is the pick you need to make a number one. Get that franchise quarterback in to replace Andy Dalton. And we've seen many times the quarterback can change the team. No matter how hard the team is, if your quarterback is very good, you can win more games. And we've heard many people say, you're as good as your quarterback is, your team's as good as your quarterback is. But yeah, this is what the Bengals need. I agree. There was some rumours maybe at the start of the draft process they might like Chase Young as the best overall player, but you need to get that quarterback in, and you can't give up the chance of getting that quarterback in the top 5. If you think he's your guy, draft him.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. A few question marks, is it a one-season thing? Was it the fact that at LSU he had the best team? He had a running back he could hand the ball to. He had wide receiver in Justin Jefferson, who's an elite wide receiver.
Jamar Chase as well.
Yeah, especially
It could be a top 5 pick next year.
Exactly. So he just had weapons all around him. Again, arguably some question marks was early in the Clemson game. He struggled against the blitz, but that was early. And then he moved past that and they were national champions. So there is no question marks, I don't think, over this pick. As I say, he's probably the best quarterback in the draft off last season. If you're going off 2018 and before that, he probably wouldn't even be up here in conversation, but definitely no.
No.
But we'll move to
I mean, I'll just say one more thing. I mean, when you look at the start of the draft process, Joe Burrow was going to be a 6th-round pick before he played at the start of last season. Now he's the first overall pick. So, it's natural to be concerned. Is he a one-year wonder? Did he reach his peak with all these unbelievable weapons that he had at LSU? But he's shown he can win a national championship and play it under the bright lights in the big games. And I personally do think Tua's he's the better QB. But when you look at Tua's injury concerns, he's not a surefire to be like a superstar player because he's had his injuries. So Joe Burrow, based off last season, I agree he's the number one pick.
I think there's more unanswered questions over Tua because this battle would have been more hotly contested had Tua not got injured and not have other concerns. But onto a position that again I think it's number 2. It's got to be. I don't know how they choose anyone else. It's Chase Young, defensive end out of OSU. I think personally the best player in the draft. I think it's many people's best player in the draft. The way he's a sack machine. Out of the edge. He's a physical beast. He is just an absolute beast, no matter which way you look at it. Very, very, very similar to the Bosa brothers. Like, it's uncanny the fact that it is literally the next. I think it's the next coming of the Bosa brothers, and I mean the Washington Redskins will be very happy to take one of them. As I say, he's the best player on the board, and that doesn't that give the Redskins a front 4 of quite a lot of first-round picks.
Yeah, I mean, it gives them a really strong front 7, to be honest with you, if you take into account their linebackers as well. Because I think Washington play like a 3-4 scheme, so you'd have Jonathan Allen, you'd have Deron Payne, and you'd have Chase Young on the 3 defensive line, and they're all first-round picks. And you've got Ryan Kerrigan, who was a first-round pick as a blitzing linebacker, and you've got Montez Sweat, who was a first-round pick last year as a blitzing linebacker. So that front 7 made up of first-round picks and a lot of young talent. I mean, Ryan Kerrigan's getting a bit older, but those other guys are still pretty young. And, the Redskins are not an amazing team. They won't be competing for a while yet. But, that front seven, although they're one of the worst teams in the league, that front seven's one of the best in the league, one of the best units in the league. And, you win the games in the trenches, really. And I think Washington is a player they can't pass up on, like Chase Young. Like you said, many people have compared him to the Bosa brothers. I mean, people who worked with Ohio State have said he's better than the Bosa brothers, which if he is, then there's no way you can pass up on him. And like you say, he's going to be the anchor on the right side for many years to come. And yeah, like you said, this is another pick that's been written down and said by many people that needs to happen for the last few months now. These top two picks really are looking like they're guaranteed to happen. I think Washington would be foolish to pass up on Chase Young.
Oh, yeah. I think we were all saying like the draft maybe starts from 3 onwards because we kind of know what's happening at 1 and 2. And the comparisons are there to the 49ers team, and I don't blame them because that was a front line made up of first-round picks as well. And they built their team, a Super Bowl appearing team, on defense, which, I mean, the Redskins have a bit further to go, to get there. But, I mean, that defense is arguably the best in football come next season if you add edge rusher Chase Young. So I'll move to the more, not controversial picks, but, where the draft really starts to be less certified in who's going to be where. So Jeff Okudah, cornerback out of OSU. Detroit Lions, they traded away Darius Slay. They got in Desmond Trufant, but Desmond Trufant is not at the level of Darius Slay. So I think you add in Jeff Okudah as well and have him and Trufant, and that's quite a solid cornerback, duo. He ran a 4.48 at the combine. He's got good height, got good weight, got good speed. I mean, he's the best shutdown corner in the class. No questions asked.
Yeah.
Go on, carry on.
No, go on. I interrupted.
I'm just saying, if you're looking at a lockdown corner, he's, I think, quite a level above the others. Sorry, carry on.
Fine. Yeah, I agree. He's a number 1 corner in this draft. Close followed by a name we'll mention a bit later. But yeah, I like with Okudah. I like how he's very quick but he's got great size, but he's got great arm length as well. He's very long. He reminds me a lot of Jalen Ramsey. I know it's quite high praise, but he does remind me a lot of Jalen Ramsey. And he's a sticky man coverage corner. He can play zone, and I do like the fit with the Lions. I think obviously you've got Trufant, you've got Justin Coleman, who they paid quite a bit of money to last off season. He's going to be their slot corner. So you could do with another outside guy, and Jeff Okudah fits that mold perfectly. Obviously this is a no trade draft. Maybe they trade out of that and still get Jeff Okudah. But the more reports we've seen, the more it's looking like Jeff Okudah is going to be the pick. But yeah, I agree. Great fit and another player who's, in my opinion, a pretty safe pick in the draft to be good. Just because his technique as a cornerback is so good. He's got really loose hips and he's never really been burnt, in my opinion, playing in college for a very good in a very good conference in the Big Ten.
Do it's mad that you've said that because that is actually one of the notes I've put down is they need to get this right. The Lions and Matt Patricia, I'm right, Anna, just before we carry on. Yeah, Matt Patricia needs to get this right. If they have another season like last year, he's out. You could gamble on maybe Isaiah Simmons, maybe gamble on someone like that, but they need the safe pick, the guaranteed starter when he moves from college level to the NFL. And I think Jeff Okudah is the safest, but still with a lot of upside in this draft to go. I think he's the pick at number 3.
Yeah.
We'll move to the New York Giants, and I think we all presume they're going to take an offensive tackle. I've seen a few mock drafts that have said, they should use this higher pick on someone else, but I do think it's an offensive tackle. They need to protect Daniel Jones.
Yeah, they need.
He was their first round pick last year. They need to protect him, give him enough time to pick the pass and make his life a little bit easier in New York. So I've gone with Jedrick Rose Jr. I think he's the best tackle, personally, in this draft at 6'4", 312 pounds. I know there is a lot of good offensive tackles. You've got Wirfs, Thomas, Becton, Wills, and then it's a little bit of a drop off, but there are some more, down the line. He's an extremely athletic guy, and if you pair him with Nate Solder, that's a nice tackle pairing at right and left tackle, I think, between the two of them. And even if you're talking about, protecting Daniel Jones, he can also block and make space for Saquon Barkley, to implement his game and make the New York Giants quite to be feared on the offensive side of the ball. What do you think about this pick at number 4?
Yeah, I think it fills a need. I think when you look at the Giants, they are a team that's looking to trade back. If they can, it's going to be either an offensive tackle or Isaiah Simmons if he's still on the board. Although I do think in the end it will be an offensive tackle, because that's just been a unit for the New York Giants that's been terrible for a long time. They've consistently had one of the worst offensive lines in the league, and getting someone like Jedrick Wills, in my opinion, he's the most pro-ready offensive lineman. Like he's going to make the most impact as an offensive lineman. Coming from Alabama, he's been a starter there for many years at right tackle. So I like the comment on Nate Solder and Jedrick Wills being your two tackle pairing. Maybe Nate Solder's getting on a bit, but Jedrick Wills can come in and solidify the edge. And like I say, you've got to protect your franchise quarterback Daniel Jones, and you've got to help out Saquon Barkley, who picked up a knee injury last year. You could say it's due to the poor blocking from the Giants, because when you look at the offensive line, there's not many holes being created for Saquon Barkley, and he's having to juke 3-4 people in the backfield before he can actually make a run. So you've got to start getting these big men up front, and once you solidify the offensive line, you can make a quarterback's life much easier, and you can even make the quarterback look better than he actually is. If you want to get the full potential out of your quarterback, you've got to keep him upright. So I think this is the pick here for the Giants.
Yeah, and I do think there's arguments to be made for the other tackles, but I do think he is the most pro-ready, and it's another one where they want to get it right, At number 5, despite all the smoke and mirrors, and do they, don't they, I've just gone with Tua. Quarterback out of Alabama. I think, back-to-back Alabama picks, and I think the reason I've gone with this is because the whole idea was tank for Tua, and he became a star in Miami, and I think the city was ready that he was the pick. And then, all this is drummed up, all this controversy around, how good is Justin Herbert? Very good, by the way. I want to defend Justin Herbert, don't get me wrong. But, you can't look past. He has got an 8 touchdown to 1 interception ratio, which is unbelievable. I know he's got the injury concerns, and I know arguably, he's not as poised as Joe Burrow on the ball in the pocket, and he sometimes makes like frantic throws under pressure. But when he escapes the pocket and he scans the field and picks his pass, there's arguably none better.
I agree. I think he is the best quarterback in this draft when you look at pure talent and the body of work, what he's done over the years for Alabama. Whenever they've had Tua as their quarterback, they've always been consistently contenders, apart from last year when he got injured. Even last year, though, when he got injured and only played 9 games, he had 33 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, which is, it could be an MVP in the NFL with those numbers. And I've never seen someone with so much accuracy than Tua. Granted, he has the weapons on the outside. He's got Jerry Judy, Henry Ruggs, Jalen Waddle, who is going to come out a couple of drafts. He will be drafted 2022, I think. And he also had Irv Smith Jr., the tight end who went to the Minnesota Vikings last season. So he's always had those weapons around him. But you've seen Tua Tagovailoa, he's such an accurate quarterback. And also, like you said, he's agile. He can move throughout the pocket. He can step up in the pocket. His pocket awareness is really good. And he's throwing on the run. He can make a beautiful throw on the run. So I think, there's a lot of rumours that the Dolphins, they like Justin Herbert over the Dolphins. I'll give you a sneak preview. I don't have Tua going to the Dolphins in my mock draft. And it's not because I don't think he's good enough. I think he's still the best quarterback. But the Dolphins are apparently really interested in Herbert. In my opinion, they would be making a mistake there, because I think Tua Tagovailoa, yeah, you've got the injury concerns, but you can't just dwell on the bad things. You've got to look at what he can do and what his potential is. And his potential is he can make you into a playoff contending team.
Well, one thing I will give credit for, I think the only thing I'm thinking is with Miami is this was the pick, this was set in stone. This was what they want. This was set in stone last year. Before the season started, the most recent season we've just had, people were saying, well, don't look at Miami as a team, that are going to do anything because they want to. And as people are looking at Jacksonville as the Trevor Lawrence team of next year, that's what they're looking at now. I think it's looking like Ryan Fitzpatrick will return to the Dolphins. And I think they're a very patient franchise, so they won't. I don't think if they keep Tua, but they keep Ryan Fitzpatrick as well, they don't have to push him in straight away as a starter. I think they can rest him. I know he's going to be the franchise, but just make sure he's 100%, because unfortunately we can't do the physical, so we don't know whether he's 100%. But I think it's a franchise that will be patient with him to get their guy in the long run.
Yeah, I do agree with that. And they've still got Josh Rosen as well, the quarterback who the Cardinals drafted and traded to them in last year's draft, actually, for a second-round pick. So he's still on the roster and he's still young. I think they might look to move him as well if they do pick up Tua. But it's an intriguing prospect, because I think when we look at the teams high up in the draft, like the Dolphins, like the Chargers who are coming up next, I think if those two teams don't look at getting Tua, how far down does he slide down the draft? That's what I'm intrigued to see.
Well, that's the question, because there are, as you say, the Dolphins apparently were looking at like an offensive tackle early in the draft. I mean, I don't see why. But then again, you could wait until pick 18 and you're going to end up with Jordan Love, and he's not a shabby quarterback at all. Maybe they use this pick on an elite wide receiver, and then later in the draft go with Jordan Love and go, well, there's our 1-2 punch for next season. And we didn't even have to, wait around for Tua there. I don't, because who else is going to draft him? Maybe Tua falls to, 18 if he doesn't.
That's what I was thinking. If you don't get picked up by the Dolphins at 5 or the Chargers at 6, like who does take the chance on Tua? The Raiders, maybe? Is that an option? Because I don't think Derek Carr is John Gruden's guy. I really don't. And if he slides to 12, which it's looking more likely, it's still very unlikely, but it's looking more likely after today's reports. If he does slide to 12, did the Raiders just decide to take Tua?
Maybe the Jags, because they lost Foles, and if Minshew doesn't have the year they want, maybe they take either a backup plan or a replacement player. I'm looking at who's in that area, and I'm not seeing any immediate ones that are shouting out to me. That's why I think the pick is what it is. But we will move on, because we've gone from Tua. It just seems right that we segue into Justin Herbert, really, who is the pick for number 6 with the Chargers, arguably because Tua's gone, but also I like the fit. I like Herbert, quarterback out of Oregon, with the Chargers. However, again, more question marks here with the fact that rumors are that they like Tyrod Taylor. They think they can run with Tyrod Taylor, and it can be a good enough thing. Sorry, Harley. Oh, what did that say? I did. Oh,
have we got a comment?
It's just flashing up on the screen constantly, and it's not leaving. It just keeps flashing up. I will check it and I will look at it. I think he's 2 to. I did the set on Madden for pick 2 to 5, but I don't know if I should take Young or Tagovailoa. Young would be my answer at number 2. Harley, thank you very much for the comment. Even though it's going to keep flashing up, and I'm not really sure why.
We'll get Commissioner Josh to sort that out.
Yeah, is it gone? Is it gone? I think it's gone. Right, we'll move on to.
I can't see what's going on, so I don't have a clue what's going on.
It's just flashing on the screen. It's gone now. Justin Herbert, he's 6'6". As I say, he's got a good arm. He can rush as well, because he got 3 rushing touchdowns in the Rose Bowl, which for a quarterback, if you can. What I remember, I think it's pronounced Arroyo. I don't know what his head coach, how you announce his surname, but Arroyo basically said, I knew that he could run, but I just unleashed it on the last 2 games of the season instead, rather than, giving people know what we've got. So then that gave that other aspect to Herbert's game, which I think with the Chargers, with Lynn's very run-heavy offense that they do have in LA, I like the fit. I do like the fit. There's questions over his leadership and the fact he's never left Oregon in his life, but he doesn't have to be the most outspoken guy to be a genius quarterback.
No, he doesn't. And I think when you look at the Chargers as well, they've got some really good weapons. Obviously, they've got Eckler in the backfield. They've got Mike Williams, who's still a young receiver. They've got Keenan Allen. They've still got Hunter Henry. The offensive line improved by signing Balaga. And in free agency, the Chargers did a really good job of, just revamping that roster. And, you could say, Tyrod is their guy. And Tyrod still has been a decent quarterback in the past, but can he still do it at a high level? And do they want to pass up the chance of getting their future guy at number 6, Justin Herbert? When you look at the, just the physicals of him, he's 6'6". He looks like the next best thing at quarterback, just how big he is in the pocket, that big arm that he's got. And he's still had a really good season for Oregon. I think he got 32 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Won the Rose Bowl against Wisconsin. So he's shown that he can be a very good quarterback in college. But we've seen over the past quarterbacks that have come out of Oregon, they have struggled in the NFL. Most notably Marcus Mariota. Can he come in, lead an offense? But with Tyrod Taylor there, I don't think there is the pressure to start straight away. I know he's going to be you're spending a 6th overall pick on him, a premium pick. You want him to start right away, but if he's not ready to start away, you've got Tyrod Taylor there to nurture him, and a great head coach in Anthony Lynn. So, I think the Chargers do walk away from this draft with a quarterback, whether it's in round 1, 2, or 3. I don't know, but Justin Herbert, it would be a nice pick to him if he falls past, if he falls to them, if Miami don't take him.
Yeah, definitely so. And I saw a comment there from Kieran James Dillon that said, "Are we all right?" And he hopes we're both well. We hope you're well too. And thank you for checking in. I will go to pick number 7. And this was a pick in terms of, I think he's arguably the best player left on the board. And the Carolina Panthers select Isaiah Simmons, linebacker / safety from Clemson. And this really depends how the Panthers want to use Isaiah Simmons as the Swiss Army knife player that he is. But you think about linebacker, they lost Luke Kuechly.
Big loss.
Yeah, big loss for them. I think it was a spontaneous retirement, really. But I think when you've got Isaiah Simmons, he gives you, as a head coach, the freedom to do what you want on, change the game plan on the defensive side of the ball. And you can utilize him in many different ways, which, as I say, at 6'4", and he ran a 4.39, he can do whatever you want because he's got explosive speed as a linebacker. But
he's a freakish athlete, isn't he?
Arguably the best overall athlete in the draft. But it depends to me where they use him. But I think if you take him, it gives you the head coach, the GM, the freedom to do what they want.
I agree, and Carolina's getting a steal here at number 7 with Isaiah Simmons, and linebacker, safety, whatever you want to use him as. You can, like you said, you can use him in so many different positions, and he can affect the game on all 3 levels of the defense. This is what I like about Isaiah Simmons. He can rush the passer. I think he had 7 sacks, so he can clearly rush the passer. He can drop back in coverage as a linebacker. He can drop back in coverage as a safety. He can cover just about as good as many corners in this draft, just because of his size and athleticism and his length. I think this is a home run pick here for the Panthers. I mean, many people have been questioning Isaiah Simmons. Can the fact that he can play so many positions hinder him? Is he a jack of all trades, master of none? I disagree with that. I think he can be a master at linebacker or safety, wherever he wants to play. Just because he's such an unbelievable athlete, and he's played at the top level as well with Clemson. He's played in many national title games and anchored that defense. And with Carolina Panthers losing Luke Kuechly, you need that next big name on your defense, next big leader. I think Isaiah Simmons could be that.
I mean, you say it right. It is a question mark. Is he kind of good everywhere but not great anywhere? That's a good question. But I do think there are other picks that the Panthers could take, because I've seen Simmons drop into, as I was messaging you last night actually and saying it's pick 12 and Simmons hasn't been taken on this mock draft. What happened? But for me, at number 7, it's a good pick, and I like Isaiah Simmons, and I just think he doesn't get past this top 10, and I think the other teams have other issues. So, speaking of a team that I personally say, is looking like they're filling in their issues, is the Arizona Cardinals, and they're taking Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle out of Georgia. He's the second tackle off the board. And for me, there was I saw one that said, why don't we just go hell to leather, get another wide receiver, have Fitzgerald, Hopkins, and, for example, CeeDee Lamb. And I thought, that's just unfair. We can't have that. I'm not having that run wild. So I've gone with protecting Kyler Murray with an offensive tackle. However, I will give the point that if there's one player who can escape the pocket with a really bad tackle contingent, it's Kyler Murray. He's small for a quarterback, but he's arguably the fastest player they have on their whole team, and he's a quarterback. But he does play. Oh, go on.
I was going to say you don't. I know he can run, but you don't really want your quarterback running around in the backfield. You want
No,
him in that pocket, making the passes from the pocket. But granted, he can escape the pocket if needed be, because he's electric when he gets out in the open field.
well, this is the thing, and Andrew Thomas can play both sides. I think he played both sides in college for Georgia. And I was looking at Cardinals. They allow 3.1 sacks per game, and they were the sixth worst sack collectors in the NFL.
Yeah.
How do you stop sacks? Protect your quarterback, and I truly believe Kyler Murray is a franchise quarterback. That's why they chose him last year. I think it was the number 1 overall pick, wasn't it?
Yeah, number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, number 1 overall pick, and we've seen second season from Mahomes, home run. Then it was Lamar, home run. Is it? I mean, the options there now for the Cardinals with Murray. Protect him. You've got weapons. Sure, they need to work on their defense, but you can kind of work on that in the later rounds, in my opinion. And this is just a home run off season for the Cardinals.
Yeah, it really is. Getting DeAndre Hopkins for, pretty much, well, you can say nothing at second round pick something, but for a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, is a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL, still pretty young. That's a steal. You put your number 1 wide receiver. You've still got Larry Fitzgerald around. You've still got Christian Kirk in the slot, who were the rumours that he could be traded, but I think those rumours were fake. So you've got the offensive weapons, and you've still got Kenyon Drake in the backfield as well. So, get Andrew Thomas, who's played at a big school in Georgia, played against great competition. The Georgia just kind of left him at left tackle on his own, and he was fine. He took on the team's best pass rushers, and he did completely fine. So I think this pick with Andrew Thomas would be really nice. I think they do like Tristan Wirfs. I've been reading some reports about that. They do like Tristan Wirfs from Iowa, who we can see got taken a bit later in the draft. I do like Tristan Wirfs fit with the Cardinals a bit better than Thomas, just because I think the Browns could be a nice fit for Thomas. But I think when you look at these offensive linemen, it's kind of like, we've said it many times, you've got your top 4, and they can just be interchanged anywhere, really, because they've all got the really high ceiling.
And, we'll talk about it now. At number 10, I had Tristan Wirfs. It's a toss-up between, I think, all these 4 tackles. One team's top tackle will be another team's 4th. One team's second will be another team's 1st. I think they can all go anywhere. But, at number 10, I did have an offensive tackle for the Browns just to protect the quarterback. They need to protect the quarterback at all costs. So I went with Tristan Wirfs. But we'll now jump back to 9. I just fast-forward in time there, because all the offensive tackles in this draft are talented, but the top 4 are interchangeable at any position. But number 9, I've seen this guy be picked as a top 5 prospect in terms of the draft this year, and it's Derek Brown, defensive tackle out of Auburn. He's the first DT off the board. He's the best DT on the board. 6'5", 326 pounds. He swallows up blockers for a living. He is an absolute beast. And the Jags need everyone, but they're replacing Calais Campbell, who they lost to the Ravens. And I think it's a nice pick, especially to rebuild this team over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think he's the next best available player on the board. When you look at what the Jags really need, I've got them going a different direction in my mock draft, but I think Derek Brown here at number 9 is an awesome pick. Just if you look at the tape at Auburn, the havoc that he caused in the middle. He can rush the passer, but he can also stuff the run. And many people have questioned his pass rush. Can he become a top tier pass rusher? But I mean, who cares really? Because he causes so much havoc in the middle. Teams have got to account for that guy, and it opens other gaps on your defensive line. We've seen the teams that have got to the Super Bowl in the last few years have had that big anchor in the middle of the defense. Getting the push up the middle and allowing those edge rushers to come around the outside. I think Derek Brown, I do agree with, he's the best DT in this draft. Javon Kinlaw, with those knee issues, I thought he could have come close to him. I thought he could have been the first DT off the board, but with Javon Kinlaw's knee tendonitis issues, I think it's Derek Brown that definitely comes off the board first DT taken. And yeah, it fills a need for the Jags as well. Like I said, Calais Campbell gone. You've got Taven Bryan, the young first-round pick from last year. So yeah, Derek Brown, great pick.
It's one of them. They do have other issues. They might need an edge rusher to replace Yannick Ngakoue if he goes. They need cornerback. Yeah, they need cornerbacks.
Big one for them.
They need linebackers as well. There's a lot of places that they need to, specifically outside linebacker, but we'll get to that a little bit later. I won't spoil any other picks now. But as I say, I think he's the best player on the board, and I know they need corners, but there is a couple of good corners. I mean, Jeff Gladney could drop, I think, to the second round where they could pick him up. Jalen Johnson, I think, is another one who could drop that far for them to pick up. So I think they settle down, they pick the best player on the board because I think when it comes to the Jags this year, they might just take best position at every pick they've got because they do need improvement everywhere because they're losing their stars.
Yeah, and we've seen them trade away. They've traded away a bunch of players this offseason just for picks, and they're going to pick the best player available on the board just because they've got so many needs. They don't have that specific need they need to fill. They can go anywhere they want because the player's going to improve them because that's how many holes they have on the team.
Yeah, and I agree. Number 10, I think I've talked about it, but I went with Tristan Wirfs. They need to protect the quarterback. The Browns, again, they need a couple positions. They need inside and outside linebackers. They need cornerback. They could do with a wide receiver, but I think protect the quarterback with the Cleveland Browns. That's the number one thing in terms of, I mean, we look at Kevin Stefanski, the head coach there now at the Cleveland Browns. He's had a quarterback that needed a good offensive line and never had it. So now he's got a quarterback that needs an offensive line, and it's about time that they gave the quarterback what they need, and that's protection.
Yeah, I do agree with that. They need to protect Baker Mayfield. I think Tristan Wirfs, though, he's more of a right tackle, and they did sign Jack Conklin to be their right tackle in the offseason. So if this is the pick, it'll be interesting to see who plays left tackle. Because I don't think you put one of them at guard. I think you're wasting their talents. Talented guys, you've got to put them at tackle. It will be interesting to see how they did that because I think they're both mainly right tackles. But yeah, there's no question Tristan Wirfs will have the quality if needed to swap to left tackle. I think he's that good of a player.
As you say, this gambles on Andrew Thomas being taken by Cardinals. You can easily switch them round. Say, Andrew Thomas can play both sides, so he can protect the blind side on the left. But at this time, Andrew Thomas had gone off the board. It was between Wirfs and Becton, and we'll get to Becton. Don't worry about that. So we'll go with that for now, and we'll move on to my next pick, which was number 11. I liked what you did in Mock Draft 2.0, which was basically just go wide receivers all in a row, really. So as you can see, 4 out of the 5 picks on this board are wide receivers. Number 15, to be honest, with the Denver Broncos, they don't have to go wide receiver. However, I'll justify that when I get there. We'll start with the New York Jets. Another team that need a lot. And I think they could go very different here if they wanted to. They could go corner as well.
Or line as well. Big need for them.
I was about to say they could go tackle as well. They could go linebacker, defensive end. There's a lot of things for the Jets. But give Sam Darnold the number 1 wide receiver in this class, CeeDee Lamb. Give him, and then he doesn't have to worry about, anything else. He is, I've put down, he's not the fastest. That's at pick 13. He's not the best route runner. That's at pick 12. But is he the best overall in the draft? Yes, in my opinion.
I think he's the best receiver in the draft. I've been saying it a while now. I think just what he does, really. I mean, he's what gets me about CeeDee Lamb is when he catches the ball as well, he turns into like a running back almost. He's very hard to bring down. And, when you look at Judy and Ruggs, brilliant receivers that played in a tougher conference than what CeeDee Lamb did. CeeDee Lamb plays for Oklahoma, played in the Big 12, but the Big 12 is not really known to be, to have those top defenses like the SEC does. But CeeDee Lamb was the main and only weapon on Oklahoma. And teams were going into the Oklahoma game saying, you need to stop CeeDee Lamb. We need to double team every single play. And he was still making plays. He was still going up over people. I think he had over 1,300 yards, about 13 touchdowns, 14 touchdowns. Super productive player, 6'2", 6'3"-ish, and he can still glide. I think this is the pick here for the Jets if they don't go offensive tackle.
He has 21.4 yards per catch. I mean, to get that much yards per catch is unbelievable. And obviously the Jets lost Robbie Anderson in this offseason. So I think, yes, they need tackle to protect Sam Darnold, but they also need Sam Darnold someone to throw to. So I think you get the best wide receiver in the draft. You take CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma, and the Jets get a great pick and a good weapon for who they believe their franchise quarterback finally gets the guy that they want. We'll move to the wide receiver dream that is the Las Vegas Raiders, because they need wide receivers desperately. And Jerry Jeudy is their pick, the elite route runner from Alabama. 24 touchdowns in his last 28 games. I mean, he's unbelievable. He really is. I think if you get him one-on-one via any corner, he can juke and move. He's got the agility. I like his double moves when running that route. And I do believe he can run every single route on the route tree. And I think it's just a perfect fit. I don't know why, but out of the other wide receivers I see, this one was the pinpoint perfect pick for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, previous mock drafts I've had Jeudy going to the Raiders as well, just because I think his route running gets so much separation. And whether your quarterback is Derek Carr, whether it's somebody else, you might want to pick up a quarterback in this draft. His route running gets so much separation, but he's just such a smooth receiver in his routes. But also, he doesn't look very fast on tape, but he is very, very quick, quicker than people think. And I think you're getting a very, like I said, very polished receiver. Like coming up against great competition. Shannon Sharp, a former NFL tight end who's on Undisputed, said he's never seen a player, Jerry Jeudy, is at Jerry Jeudy's age, run routes as good as anybody else has ever seen. He's seen Jerry Jeudy run routes that some pros that have been in the league for a long time. They can't run the routes like Jerry Jeudy, and that's a very, very high, some very, very high praise from Shannon Sharp. So, yeah, I think, in my opinion, the second best receiver in the draft behind CeeDee Lamb, but if he's there at 12 for the Raiders, it will be a nice pick. And they've got other holes, that their cornerback room's not looking very good, and they're a team with where they could go plenty of positions on this pick. They might trade down, they might trade up, but in this no trade mock draft, I think you've gone with the best option they could have gone with, and that's Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, and as we've been saying, this is such a talented wideout class that you can get a starter in round 2, possibly even round 3. Yeah. And this might. I mean, that's why maybe the Jets pick's a bit questionable, and maybe the Denver pick isn't quite there, because these don't need them to start right now. But if you take them, they are better than the other ones that are available in round 2 and 3, just not by very much. So we've talked about the number 1 wide receiver. We've talked about the number 2 wide receiver. Why not? We'll talk about the number 3 wide receiver. It's the third. It's Henry Ruggs, the third. And I've got him going to the San Francisco 49ers. Henry Ruggs out of Alabama. The reason I went with this, for the pure fact is, poor old Kyle Shanahan saw Sammy Watkins alongside, I keep forgetting his name.
Tyreek Hill.
That's the one, thank you. Tyreek Hill tear a Super Bowl ring off his finger, ruin his chances of winning a Super Bowl. So what do? You just get yourself a really fast wide receiver, so next year when it comes to it, you can be ripping Super Bowl rings off other people when you're down in the fourth quarter. That's basically, that's the whole reason is I want what other people have. And that's a really fast wide receiver that, I mean, when you think about the 49ers, if you've got Ruggs, if he can go either under, and leave space for the, the tight end to do his work. And even if Jimmy G gets to the point where all he needs to do is go long, if it's a flat out race, Henry Ruggs is getting there first. If he just runs a straight route, a deep pass downfield. So I just think it makes a lot of sense, and it just seems like they've got other options that they could pick, but they've got 2 first-round picks in my draft, so they'll cover different areas later. Yeah,
I do agree. I think it's a brilliant fit, Henry Ruggs, to the 49ers, just because of how Mike Shanahan, he likes to move his receivers around, pairing him next to Deebo Samuel. I think Henry Ruggs can go in the slot, he can go on the outside, because he is just a hair under 6 foot tall. So, he doesn't weigh a lot. That's been questioned a lot. Can he sustain the big hits in the NFL? But what gets me with Henry Ruggs is, many people just think he's a speedster. He actually had no drops in his last year at Alabama. He's got safe hands. He's
had one in his college career.
Yeah, exactly. So, he's not just a speedster. He's got safe hands. He can run many routes. Yeah, he was on a stacked offense with other good wide receivers. Might not have got the attention, but put him in this room with Mike Shanahan. And I think Kyle Shanahan, he could just utilise him better than many other teams could. If that makes sense. Like, I think with Jeudy and Lamb gone, even if Jeudy was still on the board or Lamb was still on the board, I still think Henry Ruggs is a better fit with the 49ers than those two are, just because of his versatility outside, inside, and using that speed. the 49ers are making a track team there with their wide receivers.
And exactly, and as I said earlier, have him going under, and that leaves space for George Kittle to do George Kittle type things, So that would be, because they are already the best defense in football. I know they lost to Forrest Buckner, but there is an argument to be made they're still the best defense in football. I mean, if you had Henry Ruggs a third on offense, they're arguably the best team. They could easily make another Super Bowl run this year, but I won't get ahead of myself. But I really love the pick at number 13 for Henry Ruggs a third to go to San Francisco.
Yeah, that's a great pick right there.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Sorry?
I was nervous that I wouldn't get Will Pete appreciation on this, but certified approval from Will Pete there. Number 14, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This pick, I love this pick as well. Mekhi Becton, offensive tackle out of Louisville. The big beast himself, I mean, he's got to be nearly 400 pounds, hasn't he?
He's a big guy. He's 6'7" as well. I think he's 6'7", 360 something pounds, which is just ridiculous. And he can move like a tight end. What gets me is he can move so good.
He can. The drug flag up is a difficult one because that is a way to, lower your stock before the draft. I mean, not the best move. I mean, maybe he thought he wouldn't get a caught. I don't know. But Brady, Gronk, Godwin, Evans, they don't need help on offense. They really don't.
Yeah.
And if there is a way to string up excitement about your franchise going forward, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have gone about it the right way. And I tell you what, you get that big, honestly, I can't even call him anything else, but just an absolute beast to protect Brady, to give him time to pick out these different weapons. This is my favorite of all the picks because I think it is so perfectly connected to get the big offensive tackle to protect Brady to throw to the weapons. Love the pick.
Yeah, and it's quite a very good value pick here. You're getting Mekhi Becton at pick 14. Many people think he could slide because of that drug sample, but the talent is not in question at all. How good of a left tackle he is. You put him on that left tackle side on your offensive line, he can be your anchor for many years. And like Brady, he's 42 years old, nearly 43. He needs protection. You need to keep him upright. You need to, like you say, give him time to get into those weapons because it's all good having those wide receivers out there. If he's going to get in 2 seconds to throw the ball, it's no good. But
exactly.
Mekhi Becton, great pick at pick 14. And I'm surprised he slid down a bit, but like you said, the drug sample is no joke, and we could see a slide. But I think it ends at pick 14 just because of the need and the fit that he gives the Buccaneers.
And also, unfortunately for Becton, it's not as if he's the only offensive tackle that's good enough to start in today's NFL. There's 3 of them. I mean, if you've got 3 that are clean and one that's just as good but has had a bit of a drug. I'm not saying that he's a drug user. I don't want to make it out like he's tarnished his whole career. But I mean, you've got 3 that you can pick without the dark cloud over their head. Just take the other 3. In my opinion. And I mean, exactly. People had Mekhi Becton going 4 to the Giants, not even 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I can still see that happening because he has a lot of upside because of how athletic he is and how big he is. But I think you take the 3 safer options first. You gamble on Mekhi Becton here because he can't drop any further than Tampa Bay.
No.
And then Tampa Bay on offense, wow, I cannot wait to see them play next year. I mean, can't wait to see the Cardinals play. I can't wait to see Tampa play. What a franchise they're building. But I did see
one off season they've had, the Buccaneers.
Oh, definitely. And one thing I do want to say is Chris Sims made a good point. If you want Tom Brady to play for the Buccaneers for 2 years and double the merch sales, you need to protect him. So you need to get that offensive tackle. They could bolster somewhere else, but Brady may only play for 1 year because he gets beaten banged up because their offensive line can't handle it. So I love the pick of Mekhi Becton. I mean, number 15. This is questionable. And looking back, I did do this how long ago was it? About a week ago. I did this. I can't remember when I sent it. So I don't think this is the clever pick, but I'm going with it anyway because I like it.
I've got to say, I completely disagree. I think it's a great pick. I think Justin Jefferson. the only reason he's not being spoke as highly of is because of those 3 wide receivers that are before him. In any other draft, Justin Jefferson could be the first receiver taken off the board just because I think he's a brilliant player. And I mean, you look at the stats last season for LSU. I know every single player in LSU had unbelievable stats last season because it was one of those years. But he had 111 catches, 1,540 yards, and 18 touchdowns. That is production. And he can play outside, inside. And the Broncos definitely need that number 2 option opposite Cortland Sutton, because after Cortland Sutton, they've got some pretty average wide receivers. Justin Jefferson, I think Justin Jefferson, go on, what were you going to say?
No, you're right, but also they already have Sutton and they already have Noah Fant. Do they need to improve that other team when they have other issues, for example, like DT, corner, even tackle themselves? But the reason I put him in was I like the idea of Sutton, Fant, Jefferson, because then again, that gives Drew Lock all the weapons in the world to go and do his thing, because he had a decent year last year.
Yeah, and I do agree they have other needs, but you've also got to look at it. It doesn't just end at 2 wide receivers. You've got to get that depth in because the injuries happen. You need those players there to play. And pick 15, the Broncos, I think Justin Jefferson over the last couple of days has definitely been rising a bit of up draft boards, and there is belief he could go in the top 20. I know the Eagles really like him, but there's other teams with wide receiver needs, and if the Eagles missed out on Justin Jefferson, that'd be, tough for them to take. But honestly, if Justin Jefferson went in the top 20, I really won't be surprised, just because I think the upside's up there.
We'll talk about the Philadelphia Eagles in a little bit, because I think I will have annoyed some fans with my pick at number. I think it's number 21 when we get to them. Yeah, we'll talk about them later. But I like Justin Jefferson. It wasn't a knock on him. But we will move forward. The Atlanta Falcons, again, to me, this one's a no-brainer because they need help at corner. And out of Florida, they get CJ Henderson. There is rumors that, the Jags are definitely looking at, for example, like a CJ Henderson, because he's in Florida, makes sense, just go to Jacksonville. But for me, the Falcons need a corner desperately. So I think CJ Henderson, outside of Jeff Okudah, arguably the best cornerback in the draft.
Yeah, I think he is definitely the second best corner in the draft. I don't think there's any question in that. And I think if the Falcons have got him at 16, that's unbelievable value, because there's rumours the Falcons and the Cowboys are both really interested in CJ Henderson, and we could see one of those teams move up and get him. And if the Falcons can sit at 16 and get him, that's a steal for me, in my opinion, because there's teams like the Jags that might like him. The Raiders need corners as well. As much as they like Judy, they do need cornerbacks desperately, because they don't have that number 1 outside corner to play opposite Trayvon Mullen, who they drafted last year from Clemson. But I do agree the Falcons also need corners. They lost Desmond Trufant, and the next best corner on their roster is Isaiah Oliver, who was a rookie last year. So you've got to get someone in to help them. And I do like CJ Henderson a lot. He's another very good man corner. I think he ran a 4.39 at the combine. I mean, I think he bench pressed like 18 reps, which for a cornerback is unbelievable. He's so quick, he's so athletic, and similar to Jeff Okudah, very good arm length. And he can make plays on those big receivers. This is a brilliant pick for the Atlanta Falcons here at pick 16.
Especially because they don't have to move anywhere. They don't have to trade anything away, because in mine, you're not allowed to. So sadly, you can't move forward. So that leaves you, the Dallas Cowboys, losing CJ Henderson. Heartbroken Dallas Cowboys won't get their number 1 corner, but they will they will get a brilliant corner at the same time. Again, I could have gone wide receiver to go alongside, Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup, but I stayed away. I went, replace Byron Jones and get yourself Christian Fulton. But you did get Clinton Dix in free agency. So maybe this isn't a position you really need desperately. But I think you have Clinton Dix, but I think adding Fulton from LSU doesn't harm you at all. And I think it's a brilliant pick.
I agree. I mean, we need corners. And we've got Awuzie and Jordan Lewis and Anthony Brown. But I think our top 5 corners, there's only one of them under contracts after this season, so we need to start getting the new corners in. And I think Henderson and Okudah are definitely the top 2, not in that order, by the way. Okudah, then Henderson, but then after that, it's kind of like, is it Fulton? Is it Terrell? Is it Jeff Gladney? Is it Diggs? I do like the pick of Christian Fulton. I do think you could acquire him in a trade down. I do understand your draft, no trades allowed, but I think the fit with the Cowboys, I think it would be a really nice fit, because this guy's another player he's 6 foot tall, but he's another great man corner. And I know he only had one interception, but he had 14 passes defended. And reading from what a lot of LSU fans said, he just wasn't targeted a lot because he was locking down receivers. So the quarterback was not even targeting him because he thought, well, I can't throw over there because Christian Fulton's blanketing the wide receivers. So I think I do like the pick here, Christian Fulton from LSU. And yeah, it fills a big need for the Cowboys.
Well, that's it. They throw it to the weakest guy in coverage, and it was never Christian Fulton. So we'll go to pick 18. The Miami Dolphins are back on the clock, and they take Javon Kinlaw, the defensive tackle out of South Carolina. To me, this is a case of he's the best player on the board. He is. I mean, he's up there. He's arguably better than Derek Brown. I think Derek Brown has a size, but Javon Kinlaw arguably
he's got the upside on it. He's got a lot of upside.
Yeah, but I think Javon Kinlaw is arguably the better football player. It might not be an immediate need for the Dolphins, but the Dolphins do have a lot of needs. But it might not be their number one. But they have another pick later in the draft, in the first round. And how do you let him get to 18 and not pick him?
I know, it's one of those things where if Javon Kinlaw falls to 18, whatever team picks him, someone might trade up with Miami to get him if he falls this far. It is a steal. It's just the knee tendonitis is the only issue with Javon Kinlaw. That's the only issue, and that's the reason why I might fall, because knee tendonitis, it's no joke really. We've seen how it's hampered Todd Gurley's career. It's completely derailed him. He got released when 2 seasons ago he was the Offensive Player of the Year. So it is a legitimate concern. I do like the pick for the Dolphins. I think they do have other needs, most notably the offensive line. They could do a lot of work there to protect, if they do get Tua, they're going to have to protect him because we know he's not the most durable quarterback. But, like I said, I do understand it's best available, and that makes their defensive line, it strengthens it even more. They signed Emmanuel Ogbah in the offseason. They also signed Shaq Lawson from the Bills, so it looks like they're really trying to revamp that defensive line. You put Kinlaw in the middle, that's another body to have there, and improves that defense a lot.
Well, the reason I probably didn't go tackle is because you've got Austin Jackson, Josh Jones. That's pretty much it. But for example, if they do take offensive tackle, I'm struggling to find a team that needs a defensive tackle for a while, which means you might have Javon Kinlaw drop into, pick 25 onwards, which I just don't think is going to happen.
No, I can't see that happening. I mean, maybe the Cowboys think he's too rich to pass up on it and they take him. I would prefer they didn't, because I think that need tonight is something you should stay away from. But I do agree with you. I don't think he would fall out of the top 20. But if he does, the Dolphins are a nice fit for him. Maybe if the Jags go a different route at pick 9 and he falls to pick 20, I think they run and they submit that as their pick, a pick 20 of Javon Kinlaw. We all have to see, because it is interesting. I think along with Tua Tagovailoa, does Javon Kinlaw fall in the draft? I think that's a very intriguing case that could happen.
Maybe it is the knee tendonitis, and maybe I'd say I'm slightly overlooking it, and maybe I don't think it's as important, but I just don't see how he makes it past 18, but that's just me. Anyway, we'll move to 19 and we'll go to the Las Vegas Raiders. You said they needed a corner. They get their corner in AJ Terrell out of Clemson. I mean, the other corners are off the board. The Raiders need it. Do they need to trade up for it? I don't think they do. I think they can get a solid enough corner in AJ Terrell out of Clemson at number 19, because they do not have enough players in that position. And it's definitely, they need to plug that gap.
Yeah.
I do agree. I mean,
sorry. No. You kind of lagged out a bit there, and I was a bit confused where you were, because I couldn't hear you for a while. But I do like the fit with the Raiders, because I like how you took the Clemson corner, because the Raiders, they are known for taking a lot of Clemson players. They do like those Clemson players. AJ Terrell, again, another name that's flown up draft boards the past few days. He got absolutely torched in the national championship game against LSU by Jamar Chase. Many people got torched by Jamar Chase, but if you look out of that game, he's almost 6'2", another guy with great length. I think he ran a 4.33, so he's shown he's got the speed. What did he say?
He didn't run a 3.
I can't hear what he said.
This is going well, isn't it? No, I think you said he ran a 3, and I was like, he did not run a 3.
No, he ran a 4.33. That's what I was meant to say. But yeah, I think it's a nice fit for the Raiders. They need corners, and put him on the outside next to his old teammate Trayvon Mullen. But yeah, I do see a situation tonight where Terrell goes in the top 20 because he's another one that's been flying at draft boards.
I mean, it just seems a safe pick because the Raiders need a corner. They're moving to Vegas. They need to bolster the team to really make a run as a franchise in a new city and a new state, actually.
New
But
arena.
A new arena as well, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll move to number 20. The Jags are back on the board with their second pick of the first round. And I have gone with Kenneth Murray, linebacker out of Oklahoma. I think they need linebacker. And I think they need, this is why I think they need improvements all over the defense. I know they need a corner, but I've not took it. I've gone with Kenneth Murray because I think arguably the best player still on the board.
Yeah, he's up there. I might have gone a different direction. I might have gone with someone like a Xavier McKinney because I think they need help on they need corners, but they also could do with some younger safeties. So Xavier McKinney would have been a nice pick there. But Kenneth Murray's got the upside. He was a tackling machine at Oklahoma this year. I think he had about 103 total tackles, something near that. So he can fly around the ball. And the Jaguars did sign Joe Schobert from the Browns to a pretty big deal to be their new inside linebacker. But you could have a Murray and Joe Schobert tandem at linebacker. I wouldn't hate it, but I think they could go somewhere else. But the overall player, I do agree with you. He's one of the next best people available on the board. I think he's the best linebacker in this draft, in my opinion, ahead of a certain Patrick Queen. But yeah, it's an all right pick. I'd grade it. It's like a B/C pick in my opinion for the Jags.
That's fair enough. And I mean, if you've got inside linebacker Joe Schobert, play him as an outside linebacker. And that's where he probably thrives in this Jags defense. But you'll see why I didn't choose Xavier McKinney. Because of pick number 21. The Eagles do not get the wide receiver they crave. Instead, I gave them, I think the world's about to burn because they didn't get a wide receiver. But I gave them McKinney, safety out of Alabama, because, and I will justify this, the best wide receivers are off the board. So, just stay the course, wait till the second round, third round, get yourself, if I know I don't want to say his name because you'll see him later, but Denzel Mims, he may very well drop. T. Higgins, I think he's unbelievable. And he's not being talked about in the first round. Maybe wait and stay the course and get him. So I decided to fill the gap that they have, that Malcolm Jenkins left, in a team that has a little bit of uncertainty at this position at safety. I've gone with Xavier McKinney.
Yeah, it's not an impossible pick as well, and he's the best safety in this draft, in my opinion. I think you'll think the same as well. They lost Malcolm Jenkins, obviously. They signed Will Parks from the Broncos, a young safety, and they've still got Rodney McLeod. But it's how longer can Rodney McLeod play at a high level? And I think Xavier McKinney is one of the more safer players in this draft. You know what you're getting with Xavier McKinney. I don't think he's going to be a bust. I don't think he's got the upside as much as a Grant Delpit. But a Grant Delpit's got a much, much bigger flaw than Xavier McKinney could have. I think Xavier McKinney, you get him in that Eagles defense, they've revamped their corners this offseason, but safety is now out of the question. Obviously, this, like I've said many times, this is a no-trade mock draft. Maybe they look to trade down back into the late first round and then get their wide receiver and get extra draft picks. That could be an option for them. But I think when you're looking at players left available on the board, Xavier McKinney is the best player available. It's just whether the Eagles go that route. And I think a lot of Eagles wouldn't be happy if they took the wide receiver. But I do understand where you're coming from. I think the board didn't fall their way with Jefferson going earlier than many people thought he would. But yeah, it's a decent pick for the Eagles, I'd say.
I mean, as I say, probably my next pick. I know there's another wide receiver coming up, but again, T. Higgins wouldn't be. It's not outside the realm of possibility for him to go in the first round. Yeah. I think he's, as I say, I think he's absolutely brilliant. But again, as I say, Malcolm Jenkins has gone to the Saints, so you might as well, go with Xavier McKinney. And as you said, he could start, I think, day one in the NFL. And as you said, McLeod getting a bit on the older side, maybe, inject a bit of youth into that Eagles defense and not get a wide receiver, which I'm sure went down brilliantly. Yeah. Pick 22, it's my Minnesota Vikings. And this was a tough one for me, because we, again, could go wide receiver, but I did a very similar to Eagles and just went, stay the course, wait for a second round. and get add another player. Diggs, 4th round pick. Thielen, undrafted, and we've just added TJ Sharp. So I think Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer are comfortable enough knowing they're going to get the players they want to get wherever they want them on the draft board. They'll find they can find a wide receiver in round 3. I mean, look, Diggs was round 4, and we just got rid of him for a 1st round pick.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to rush into taking a wide receiver here when you can get one of equal quality, not wasting a 1st rounder. That being said, the 4 best tackles are off the board. And we need offensive linemen to give Kirk Cousins time in the pocket, because when he's got one play and that's the play he's running, he hasn't got the spontaneous nature to create a play out of nothing. That's just not how he is. So you need someone to protect him. So I went with Austin Jackson instead of Josh Jones. Austin Jackson, I think, as you said, his floor is arguably a little bit lower than Josh Jones, in my opinion. But I think he can grow into a good starting tackle in the NFL. And he's a lovely guy. And the only reason he's not had much time on the field is because he donated bone marrow. What a guy.
Okay.
So it's been ever since we did research on our first ever mock draft, and I did I read about Austin Jackson. I thought, I like this guy. It might be more sentimental than, maybe definitive, but Austin Jackson, offensive tackle, USC.
Yeah, and I think Austin Jackson is a player that could sneak into the 1st round just because of the amount of teams that have a neat offensive tackle. I do prefer Josh Jones over him, but I think he's the next best thing after Josh Jones.
Yeah,
he's definitely top 5 offensive tackles. Whether you want to swap Josh Jones and him about, I think he's up there as a top 5 tackle. And yeah, like you said, the Vikings, they need a receiver, but the offensive line could do with some work as well. They took Garrett Bradbury, center, last year in the 1st round, so now they get their offensive tackle to protect Kirk. And when we've seen when they can protect Kirk, he can make any throw on the field. It's just giving him the time to throw it out to his weapons. And I do agree with you. I think there's many receivers that are available in the 2nd round that are being slept on, and you could get a day 1 starter in the 2nd or 3rd round.
Definitely. Number 23, the New England Patriots. I think last mock draft you might have had them taking a quarterback. I don't. I have them taking AJ Epinesa, defensive end out of Iowa. I like. Also, there's a pick that could have gone here is Cole Kmet, tight end out of Notre Dame. I like the pick, but I went with AJ Epinesa to, be that defensive end that rushes other teams' quarterbacks, and it leaves. I think they need. My thing is with the Patriots is Bill Belichick knows the players he wants, and he knows how to get the best out of who he gets. And I just like the fit of AJ Epinesa. I know there's a fit of Cesar Ruiz, which is another one who could work, but I like AJ Epinesa personally over that.
I do like this fit as well, just because you've seen with AJ Epinesa, he's not the best athlete, but he can play edge, he can solidify the edge, but he can also play inside. And he's a big guy, 6'6", thinking about 11.5 sacks. And the Patriots, with their defensive linemen, they do value that they can move across the line. They like players that can play defensive tackle and defensive end. They like swapping them about a bit. AJ Epinesa, I think, is definitely capable of doing that. So yeah, I do really like the fit here for the Patriots. And tight end's a need, but again, tight end is in my opinion, a position you could target in the 2nd or 3rd round and still get a very good tight end, because I think he's more backloaded. Is this draft with tight end talent? But yeah, AJ Epinesa, another name, maybe Yatogros Matos, another defensive end that they like. And maybe they got offensive tackle, but Isaiah Wynn, who they drafted last year, I think 2 years ago, I think they're pretty confident he can come back from his injuries and be a better offensive tackle. But I am very interested to see Jarrett Stidham in the offense, because I had them taking Jordan Love in my previous mock draft. I basically went best player. I basically couldn't find a place for Jordan Love, and I thought, well, Patriots need a quarterback, give him with the Patriots. But reading about it more, they do like Jarrett Stidham, so I'm interested to see how Jarrett Stidham does next season.
It'll be interesting, and I think AJ Epinesa on this pick, he's just very steady. Nothing about him is extreme. Like, he's not the greatest defensive end since sliced bread, but he is steady and he'll do the job. Speaking of Jordan Love, we might as well go to pick 24. New Orleans Saints, Jordan Love, quarterback out of Utah State. Right. The New Orleans Saints have everything. They do not have an immediate need on that team, in my opinion. I don't think I look at that team and think, God, they need this, they need that. They just don't. So I decided to go with Jordan Love because Drew Brees, you've got another 2 years, I think, at most out of Drew Brees. Taysom Hill, you can use him in so many different ways that I don't think he needs to be that quarterback of the future. So you take Love, you sit him behind Drew Brees for a couple of years, learn from him. He starts and you use Taysom Hill in a different way.
Yeah, I do like this pick as well, just because you don't know how long Drew Brees have in the league, and you do need to get a replacement. I do like Taysom Hill a lot to be their future quarterback, but the question is, can he do it? Because we've seen him do all this when he's lined up as a wide receiver, he's lined up as a running back. He's great on special teams. Sorry about that. He's great on special teams. But is he that surefire going to be has he played quarterback all his life? Can he be that franchise quarterback? It's in question. Jordan Love, I think, if he is nurtured by Drew Brees, I think he can be.
I agree. And I really, really like the pick. I don't know why. I saw it come up somewhere and I thought, you know what? It makes a lot of sense. So at number 25, another need for the Minnesota Vikings after they lost 3 starting corners. I think it was 3.
What's that, Minnesota? Vikings.
Yeah, I think we lost 3 starting corners, was it?
I think we lost Mackenzie Alexander, Trey Waynes, and Xavier Rhodes, who you released.
Yeah, 3 starting corners. So we need to replace that with Trevon out of cornerback from Alabama. How do we replace Stephon Diggs? We get his brother, Trevon Diggs. So I like the pick just because it's his brother. There is other corners I could go with, definitely. But it just doesn't have as good of a story as Trevon Diggs, does it? We get rid of his brother in the off-season. So what do? We go and draft his brother. just and we need a cornerback. And, sit him alongside Mike Hughes. That's corner kind of sorted for the season. It's not going to be great in terms of depth, but we maybe pick one up in the 4th, 5th round. We pick up another one just for depth and then go from there.
Yeah, I do like this pick again. This is a Kieran Law pick right here. Trevon Diggs, cornerback from Alabama. We like him because he's Stephon's brother, but you've also got to look at the player himself, and he actually is a very good player just because I think he's got great size. I think he's almost 6'2". So speed is a bit of a question for him. Can he keep up with the elite receivers in terms of speed when it comes to the NFL? But I think he's a ball hawk. He used to play wide receiver, so he can clearly catch the ball. I think it's a nice pick here for the Vikings. And I think the way you've drafted your cornerbacks, I think he's probably the next best available. Maybe Jeff Gladney sneaks in there in front of him, but it fills a need, and it is a nice pick at the back end of the first round for the Vikings.
And I do like it. I do like it a lot. I mean, knowing that he played wide receiver, he can probably read a wide receiver because he was once one.
Mm-hmm.
They mirror what he was going to do. But anyway, that's corner sorted for the Vikings, and that is them off the board. No, they're not on until the second round. But who's back on the board? It's the Miami Dolphins. And now, right, this is where things get interesting. I've decided to give the running backs a little bit of love in this draft because they don't get enough of it. So I've given DeAndre Swift, running back out of Georgia. Yes, Miami need help on defense. They were giving up 30 points a game. But I like the idea of having Tua on offense. And how would you protect a man that might not get sacked? Hand the ball off. Give it to DeAndre Swift. Let him find the openings. If you're worried about Tua staying healthy, don't make him throw the ball all the time.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice pick. It feels obviously they drafted Jordan Howard they didn't draft him, they signed him from the Philadelphia Eagles on a 2-year deal. I think it could be a nice 1-2 tandem, him and Swift in the backfield. But I do think the Dolphins will look to get an offensive lineman in this first round. I know you've taken Austin Jackson. There's still some decent tackles available. I had the Dolphins taking Swift in my mock draft 2.0 because I thought that 1-2 punch between him and Jordan Howard would be really nice. I think he's the best running back in this draft.
Yep.
It's a good pick. I would have gone offensive line here because I think you can get a very good running back in the second round because, you look at the other running backs, Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Cam Akers. You can get a starter in the second round as well. But the offensive line talent, in my opinion, drops off a bit after the early second round. But it is a nice pick. It is a nice pick for the Dolphins.
Maybe take, Josh Jones here and wait for a second round pick. It's probably fair enough. But, get the best running back if you can. He's there. And there's another running back coming up very soon. So we'll move on to our final slide of my mock draft, which has gone on for a lot longer than would have been expected, but I've been enjoying it that much. Seattle Seahawks are going to take Yetur Gross-Matos, defensive end out of Penn State. They lost Jadeveon Clowney, replaced Jadeveon Clowney with Yetur Gross-Matos. I like the Seahawks team, but I do think they need a little bit of help on the defensive end position. So I gave them Gross-Matos.
Yeah, this is another solid pick for the Seahawks. I think Gross-Matos is definitely a first round pick. People might question, is he a second round talent? But I think he is up there with the best defensive ends in this class. And I do like what he brings. He's not the most athletic. He's similar to AJ Epinesa. He can solidify the edge and stop the run very well. And I think the Seahawks are another team that values that position flex. Can play inside, can play outside. And yeah, they lost Quinton Jefferson in the offseason to the Buffalo Bills. So, defensive line is a need for them. And I do like the pick by the Seahawks. Maybe they look to trade back though, because the Seahawks do always like to trade back for some reason. I don't think they've been in a draft with their GM John Snyder and not moved from the original spot, whether that's trading up or trading down. So interesting to see how they see what the ball's looking like, see if they want to move down. But I think Gross-Matos 27 is a nice position for Gross-Matos. I think it's whereabouts he goes in the draft. A nice fit with the Seahawks.
I like it a lot. The Baltimore Ravens, we spoke about them in our NFC. No, it wasn't. It was AFC North. My apologies. Yeah. AFC North preview, and we both said, Patrick Queen's a good fit. But Clavon Chaison's still on the board. I mean, if you've got Clavon Chaison on the board, outside linebacker LSU, he's not the linebacker that Patrick Queen is. But if you're talking about rushing the passer, I think if you're talking about rushing the quarterback, should I say, I think Clavon Chaison at outside linebacker is a very, very good pick at 28 for the Baltimore Ravens.
I think that's a steal for the Ravens. Number 28 for Clavon Chaison. He is listed as an outside linebacker, but he's more of that blitzing outside linebacker.
Yeah.
He's not one of those guys sitting coverage and tackle, but he can do it if asked. But he's more of a blitzer linebacker. Now I don't think he lasts until pick 28, but if the Ravens can pick him up, I really like the fit because you've got Matt Judon on because they do play the 3-4, I think, the Ravens. So you've got Matt Judon on one side, you've got Clavon Chaison on the other side rushing the passer. You've got Calais Campbell in the middle with Brandon Williams. This is a brilliant fit for the Ravens. If he's still there, I would really like the pick a lot over Patrick Queen. It's a tough one really because I know I'm higher on Clavon Chaison than you are. I know you don't really you like him as a player, but you think there's better players available. But go on.
I'm not high on him, but I understand that he was no way going to drop to 28 on your draft.
No, I mean he's not one of those guys like he's going to go in the top 10 or anything. But I think if the Ravens do get him at pick 28 with many other teams that do like him, I think that's a steal for the Ravens, and it just makes the rich richer, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's almost unfair. Hence why at pick 32, I'll be honest, it was getting a bit unfair at pick 32. But we'll go with 29. Well, we talked about him. It's the Tennessee Titans. I gave him Patrick Queen because, again, I arguably think he is the best player left on the board. I think there's arguments for the bottom three being round 2 talents. I don't think Patrick Queen is. I think that's unfair. So I think he is the best player left on the board at this point. And the Titans kind of need it. I mean, they're a very a run-based offense, so I didn't think they really needed anything on offense. I think they've got the quarterback, they've got the running back, the wide receivers are okay. Maybe someone to protect Ryan Tannehill, offensive tackle. But I like the idea of adding a linebacker in Patrick Queen from LSU. Both LSU picks back to back. Yeah,
this is another pick where, if Chaison and Patrick Queen are both on the board, I think with the Ravens and Titans, you couldn't interchange those players because I think they fit really well with both teams. But I do agree that the Titans could do with another linebacker in the middle of the defense. They've got their nice linebackers that can pass rush, but I think I don't even know their middle linebackers. I think it's Wesley Woodyard. I think he's getting a bit older though. Patrick Queen, again, he's a player that flies around the ball, made a lot of plays in this LSU defense, and I think he could be really that leader of the middle of the defense. So yeah, again, if he's there at pick 29, great pick by the Titans. And I do agree with you. This guy's definitely a first-round pick.
Oh, definitely. And then we'll get to pick 31, 30, 31, 32, who these could interchange. We'll talk about them now. The Green Bay Packers, Denzel Mims, wide receiver, Baylor. God, please, as much as I hate the team, give Aaron Rodgers some weapons to work with. I mean, over the last couple of years, he's been making average wide receivers at best look like really good wide receivers. So give him a good wide receiver and let's see what the Packers can do. Hopefully nothing, because I'm in their division, but give him someone to throw to. And alongside, I think is it Devontae Freeman?
Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams, thank you. Devontae Adams. Give Adams, Mims, it gives, Rodgers something to work with.
Yeah, I really like his pick at pick 30. I mean, Mims, he's 6'3". He's a red zone target. But not only that, he run a 4.39. So he's not exactly just a slow player. He's tall and he's not just one of those players that's going to hype out the ball. He can get in behind the defense and make those tough catches. I really like this pick at pick 30. Yeah, like you said, pair him next to Devontae Adams as a number 2 option. Aaron Rodgers he'll be chuffed with that.
Yeah, very, very much so. And he may drop to the second round, I don't know. Now, this one is a man that I have not seen in anyone else's first round but mine. So, 31, the San Francisco 49ers, because I think they'll trade this pick away.
I agree.
Or they'll trade their earlier one away. But I wasn't allowed trades, so I stuck with what they needed. The San Francisco 49ers take Ross Blacklock, defensive tackle out of TCU. They needed to replace DeForest Buckner, so I gave them Ross Blacklock because he was the best DT left, really.
Yeah, he's a player who I've seen Daniel Jeremiah on NFL Network. He put him at 31 for the 49ers in his no trade mock draft. I think he's definitely. Yeah, I think he did. He's a player. He's a player that he's got that late 1, early round 2 talent. It's looking more likely he's going to go round 2. But I do agree he's the next best defensive tackle. But I can see why you've put him there because I do think we both agree the 49ers are going to trade this pick because after this pick, they don't have a pick till round 4 or 5. So they need to start picking up draft picks by trading back. But if he is the pick, he replaces, well, he don't replace DeForest Buckner, but he puts another body in the middle to help, soften the loss of DeForest Buckner. Yeah, I think it's the next best defensive tackle on the board and nice pick. I mean, when you're looking at the end of the first round, you're trying to get players, best available players, because I think around pick 20, pick 21 is when the true first round talents are expected to come off the board. Then it's kind of like these players are they early round 1, so are they mid round 1, or do they sneak to the second round? But I think Ross Blacklock at 31, if the 49ers do pick there, he filled a need.
Yeah, definitely so. I looked at corner because how long's Richard Sherman got left? No one knows. But again, the best corners were off the board, so I might as well have just gone with DT. And finally, the Kansas City Chiefs. I give them Jonathan Taylor, running back out of Wisconsin, because if this offense wasn't efficient enough, give him another running back. I mean, he's got basically my reasoning behind this, because this probably was maybe raised a few eyebrows when you saw it, maybe, I don't know, but the Chiefs last year, you knew what they were going to do. Give Mahomes the ball and he'll find a way to sort it out. Maybe become a little bit more 2-dimensional, or maybe I should say 3-dimensional, but don't just throw the ball. If you've got Jonathan Taylor, that gives them something else to worry about instead of knowing. I know Mahomes is magic on the ball and he can escape the pocket and make magical throws that no one expects, and create space no one saw. But you give Jonathan Taylor there as well, it just gives the defense another thing to think about because everyone knows Mahomes will keep the ball and make the throw.
Yeah, I do like the pick. I don't think it's an immediate need because I know that they really like Damian Williams, who had a brilliant Super Bowl. If Mahomes didn't bring them back from the ashes, I think he's the Super Bowl MVP. Yeah, Jonathan Taylor, I do really like him as a running back, and pairing him, a 1-2 punch with Damian Williams would be really nice for this offense. And I do get what you mean by, making the defense think, well, you've got to stop Mahomes, but you also can't just let Jonathan Taylor have a free run at our defense because he will run us over. And at the end of the first round, it's kind of like, well, hey, we're the Super Bowl champions. What do we actually need? Basically, the Chiefs are laughing at all these other teams in the draft because we're thinking, we've got the best team, and we're going to make it even better by picking one of the best running backs in the draft and scare all the other teams in the league.
That was it. I was thinking maybe bolster the defense, but then I just thought, screw it, give them another weapon because why not? But that is the end of my mock draft. It was a stressful experience. I didn't know who to give who, but it was a brilliant and exciting time, and I'm happy with all the picks I gave in the end. If you could give it a grade, Will, what would you give my mock draft?
You've passed. Definitely passed.
Thank you.
I'd probably give it a B+, A- overall. It is a good draft. Some picks where I think teams maybe could have gone with other needs, but the way the draft board shaped out, I can understand how you've gone with certain players. But overall, I do think it's good. It's good mock draft, especially for your first mock draft and no trades allowed.
I was going to say the limitations of the no trade did not help when it got to that, that 49ers second pick especially. But away from me, let's talk about someone else before we get to you, and let's talk about The Athletic. The Athletic, indeed. 50% off the annual subscription using the link in the description down below, and the link that's written just there. Actually, you get a 7-day free trial with The Athletic today using that link. What better time to bolster your knowledge on the NFL by using the best journalists, the best writers just before draft night. Listen to their opinions on mock draft, because I know I was watching the Vikings Entertainment Network, and one of the writers for The Athletic gave his opinion on who we want. So, go and learn all about your team and all about a variety of sports today, and no ads.
No ads. Beautiful thing, innit? No one wants ads when reading articles. And yeah, for 50% off the annual subscription, just by using the link below, you'd be foolish not to. You really would be. And you get that 7-day free trial. So you join The Athletic today. And like Kieran said, it's the best content in terms of sports. You might like other sports. You might like NFL. You might like football, cricket, boxing, any sport you like. The Athletic will cover it. So yeah, join The Athletic today for the best sports coverage.
Down below. Now, let's move on to you, Will. Are you as good as The Athletic's writers? Are you predicting the right picks? Let's move to your mock draft. I can guarantee, no offense, you're not as good as The Athletic.
I was going to say. I mean, thanks for the praise, but I wouldn't go that far.
No, definitely not. We'll move into yours now.
Yeah, let's move on. So, it's my mock draft. And the only thing that's different to Kieran's is my mock draft was allowed trades. That's the only difference that we've had. So yeah, pick number 1, I've gone with Joe Burrow, quarterback from LSU, going to the Cincinnati Bengals. This is again, I mentioned it when Kieran picked him. He's going to be the pick. 65 total touchdowns, I think it was, only 6 interceptions. This guy was unbelievable last season. He led LSU to the national championship game, undefeated. He beat Trevor Lawrence. He handed Trevor Lawrence his first loss in 26 games as a college starter. Joe Burrow will be the head to Andy Dalton, and first overall pick, barring any unforeseen circumstances. We know the Dolphins, they want to trade up to that number 1 pick, but I think the Bengals, they've said many times before, no, we're getting Joe Burrow. You can have somebody else. What do you think of the pick?
No, it's sensible. It's the right thing to do. There is no need to make unnecessary shocks just to make it interesting. There's no need. I remember when people were saying, "Oh, Miami are willing to give all these picks." Everyone just went, "Oh, shut up! It's not happening. Just move on."
Yeah, it's not happening.
What
do you say? You like that?
Find these journalists find a new rumor to write about.
Yeah, I know that the journalists might have been a bit bored because they're waiting around for the draft, but we all know this is going to be the pick at number 1 overall. Number 2, the Washington Redskins is a similar situation. They go Chase Young, defensive end from Ohio State University, 16 sacks this season, which led the college football, all the conferences. Again, he's another player who is a home run prospect. He's in many people's eyes, well, almost everyone's eyes, the best prospect in the entire draft if you're looking at overall players. And again, the Redskins, did they have a massive immediate need at defensive end? No, but they'd just be absolutely foolish to pass up on a player like Chase Young, a generational talent. And if people have been saying, especially people from Ohio State have been saying he's better than Nick Bosa, Andrew Bosa. If that's true, you can't pass up on this guy.
No, not at all. And he will be a power in the NFL. People will fear coming up against him, especially quarterbacks.
Indeed, and if the Redskins, I was about to say if the Redskins don't want him, that's fine by me because he won't be in the NFC East. But unfortunately, I think he will be by the end of the day. The Washington Redskins defensive end. Pick 3, I've gone for something a bit different here than what Kieran has gone for. And it's something that's been a regular theme in my other mock draft as well, mock draft 2.0. I'll give the Lions Isaiah Simmons. Now, Jeff Okudah, they need cornerbacks. There's no shadow in that. They do need cornerbacks, but they also need everywhere else on the defensive side of position. Their linebackers, they drafted Julian Tabai in the second round last year. Underperformed a little bit, not the greatest athlete. And obviously their first round pick from 2017, Jared Davis, has not panned out to what they thought it would be. He's been a bit disappointing. And their safeties, they're nice, but they can always improve there. I've gone with Isaiah Simmons. I think he could be that leader on the defense. Like I said in Kieran's mock draft, he can affect the game on all 3 levels of the defense. They've already have a decent pass rush, the Lions, but they're making it better with Simmons. And I think the Lions would play him as a linebacker that can also shift into safety coverage. Yeah, this is just an outstanding pick by the Lions. In my opinion, he's the second best overall player in this entire draft behind Chase Young. And yeah, the Lions, they could go Jeff Okudah, but in my opinion, I think Isaiah Simmons, it just would be a really nice pick for them and improve their defense overall.
I love the pick. I love the pick. On other people's, as I say, he's making it out the top 10. I don't see it personally. With you, I know you're very high on him. You've had him going in the top 5, I think, for most of your mock drafts, which it's not out of the realm of possibility. I think one time you had him going to the Giants just because, they were there. Yeah, exactly. I don't hate the pick, and I think it makes sense. If the Detroit Lions want to bolster the defense, I think both Okudah and Simmons can help them out massively. They need corners, but they need everywhere else as well.
Yeah, and at pick 3, I decided to keep them there. There's rumours they might trade back, which it's looking like they might trade back now, but I thought I don't want to make it too silly and have all these trades in. I thought, if the Lions like their guy, they're going to go with the guy. And if we pick 3, it's very hard to draft a bad player, let's be honest. Unless your franchise is very cursed, you're probably not going to draft a bust here for Isaiah Simmons or Jeff Okudah, whichever option you go with. So yeah, pick 4. Next up, New York Giants. I've been taking offensive tackle, different offensive tackle to Kieran's draft. I've been taking Christian Wirfs, offensive tackle, Iowa. Now, the reason I picked Christian Wirfs is I just think the Giants higher on him overall than the other offensive tackles in the draft. And I think him playing right tackle, I do think they take the right tackle, whether it's Wills or Wirfs, because like Kieran mentioned, they have Nate Solder at left tackle. And I think, Christian Wirfs is brilliant offensive tackle, played many seasons for Iowa, and I think he was a leader on that offense. Even though he was an offensive lineman, he was still looked at Iowa as a very, very big part of their offense. And I think coming over to the Giants, helping out Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, it's a really nice pick for the Giants and fills a massive need.
It goes back to what we say. Your number 1 tackle definitely won't be my number 1 tackle. It definitely won't be Fred's number 1 tackle, and it's going to be different to Barry's number 1 tackle.
Barry
loves Mekhi Becton. What can I say? Yes. But I understand the pick. New York Giants need a tackle. The only way I can see them maybe like differentiating is, for example, if Detroit went Okudah and they might think they need the linebacker, maybe that's the only way I see them not taking tackle to protect Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I agree. It's either going to be, if Isaiah Simmons is available, it could be him, but if he's not available, it's more likely going to be offensive tackle. And apparently the Giants are a candidate that want to trade down. I just couldn't find a suitor for them that made sense, So I kept it on number 4.
I was going to bring it up because, let's be fair, as we've mentioned, we'll keep mentioning the 4 of them, the offensive tackles. They could trade back a few positions, get a haul of picks, and still end up with a very good offensive tackle. But if you can't find a suitor, if you're going to dance, you need a partner, So
exactly. If you can't find that, if you can't find that trade partner, take the player who's highest on your board, who you really want. Now, pick 5. This is where it gets a bit interesting. I've got them taking Justin Herbert instead of Tua Tagovailoa. Now, The injuries are a legitimate concern, and what I've been reading throughout the week is there's no reason why the Dolphins take Tua Tagovailoa, why it's set in stone. And, I think there would be. I think Tua Tagovailoa to the Dolphins makes more sense than Justin Herbert. I just think he's a better overall quarterback than Herbert. But I think what I've been reading, the Dolphins, they just like Justin Herbert more. And I think Justin Herbert, we've talked about this, me and you, Kieran, many times. This guy has smashed the process. He won Senior Bowl MVP. He's not had any issues off the field during the draft process. He's had a brilliant combine, showed his talents there. Really, really good pro day at Oregon, where many scouts saw him. And he's just done nothing wrong. He's nothing to apart from bolster his draft stock. I think the Dolphins, I honestly will not be surprised if he's the 5th overall pick for the Miami Dolphins.
Completely agree. Seems like a nice kid, nice personality, well spoken, eloquent. He doesn't seem to be rash or egotistical. He doesn't think he's better than he is. He seems like a ready to go pro, in my opinion.
I agree. Seems like a student of the game, doesn't he?
Oh, I mean, I love the pick. I don't see a problem with it at all. I know. I went with Tua because that seems to be like the Miami sort of dream that they've had, but I would not be surprised if Herbert goes here at all.
Yeah, and vice versa. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they take Tua either. I think they do. They obviously leave this draft with a quarterback, whether it's Herbert or Tua. I think it's a very interesting, prospect that we find out later on in the day. So moving on to the next picks. Pick 6, I've got the Los Angeles Chargers next up on the board, and they do take a quarterback. They take Tua Tagovailoa. The Chargers, they're also very high on Justin Herbert, and they're also very high on their own quarterback, Tyrod Taylor. But I think if Tua fell to 6, it'd be very hard for the Chargers to pass up on him. Yeah, they've got the legitimate injury concerns, but again, you put him in this offense, like you said with Justin Herbert, he's a very good fit with the Chargers just because of the surrounding talent that he has, a great coach. I think Tua is no different. They signed Brian Bulaga in the offseason. They've got a youngish offensive line that's getting better, and they've got weapons on the outside and a good running back. I think putting Tua with also the defense is unbelievable as well. The defense is going to get takeaways for you. And Tua, it's very hard to pass up on a quarterback like Tua Tagovailoa just because of the pure talent. And like I said, if I passed on him here at pick 6, where else does he go? Because there's not a lot of teams with quarterback needs.
No, it's an interesting one. I mean, you look at the Raiders, maybe, as you said earlier, maybe they take it, maybe the Jags do, but it was hard to find an immediate team afterwards that need a quarterback. I mean, I had the Saints taking one, but that's because they have a wealth of talent. They don't need anything else. I mean, as you said, I saw someone speaking the other day. The Chargers' defense is a playoff defense.
Oh, yeah.
It's just they need to get the chains moving on the other side of the ball. Is Tyrod Taylor that guy? They think it is, but I don't deny that taking Tua, it's not a bad choice,
Yeah, that taking Tua at 6, you're not going to lose anything. And if he turns out to be good and you passed on him, you look like the dumbest franchise in the league, don't you? So
yeah, hello Dolphins. Maybe they'll,
Yeah, maybe so. And I think with the way my mock draft went with Isaiah Simmons off the board and Justin Herbert off the board as well, I think this is the next position they go for. Now we do have our first trade of the mock draft, and it's a very interesting one. And it's the Raiders jumping up from pick 12 to pick 7 in exchange with the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers get pick 12, pick 81, and pick 91. So they get two third-round picks and move back 5 spots. And with that pick, the Oakland Raiders select Jeff Okudah, cornerback, Ohio State University. The reason for this is because I know the Panthers also need cornerbacks, but the Raiders desperately need cornerbacks. And if Jeff Okudah is still sitting there at pick 7, I think if the Raiders jumps up and got him, that's a home run decision in my opinion.
Well, we said the drop between the corners. You've got Okudah at the top, then the others. I had them taking Terrell in mind, but if they can jump up and get the best corner in the draft at pick number 7, when he's projected to be a top 5 level player, I don't think the Panthers lose anything either, because I think the Panthers can still get a decent guy. They don't have an immediate sort of like, oh, we need this now, or it's the desperation, should I say, that some of the other teams do, like the Dolphins, for example. They're desperate for a quarterback. I don't think the Panthers are desperate for anything. So I like the idea that, the Raiders, they're moving to Vegas and they can pick up the number 1 corner in the draft. Yeah, they lose a couple third rounds, but they can sort their stuff out in the first and the second with 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, and I think the Panthers are a team with they're kind of rebuilding. They need to get as many picks in as they can, and to only move back 5 spots and pick up 2 third-round picks, I think it's a really good deal for them as well. And obviously the Raiders would jump up and get their number 1 guy.
Definitely. Lots of differences between ours so far. But then again, I wasn't allowed trade, so that's not fair.
Yeah, exactly. And I've tried to make it a bit interesting. If we had the same draft, then what's the point of making 2 drafts? But pick number 8, the Arizona Cardinals, they select the next best offensive tackle on the board, and that's Jedrick Wills Jr. out of Alabama. Kieran's first offensive tackle off the board. He's my second. Again, I think it's a very good fit with the Cardinals. They need offensive line help. We've mentioned their weapons that they have. They don't need to go skill position here. They can do if they want to, and make it, make it unfair for them and make the division really interesting in the NFC West. But I think the smart pick here is protect your franchise quarterback. get one of the most polished offensive linemen in the draft, and he can be your right tackle anchor for many years to come.
Definitely ready to start right now. As I said, he was my number one guy, but there is no like out of the box thinking that this guy could go at number 8 and still be there for the Cardinals. I think any team that's looking for an offensive tackle in the top 15, they'll get their guy. Whoever it may be. I don't think there'll be any trades up for them. I agree with you here. As I say, I just had them a little bit different, but I like the fact that the Cardinals need this position. It's what they get.
Yeah, again, it's a need, and like we've said, these offensive tackles, they can go any which way, but had them taking a right tackle from Alabama. Now, pick number 9. This is a very interesting one. I've got the Jacksonville Jaguars taking cornerback C.J. Henderson out of Florida. In my opinion, definitely the second best corner. He's not as good as Jeff Okudah, but he's better than the number 3 corner, if that makes sense. There's a step ahead of the number 3 corner and him. He's definitely the number 2 corner in this draft, but a very, very good cornerback. Again, had an unbelievable combine, raised his stock a lot just from his combine performance. But even at Florida, he was a starter for about 2 or 3 years. He's shown he can mount the best receivers in college football. Very athletic, great range when it comes to man coverage. I think the Jaguars losing Jalen Ramsey and trading away AJ Boyer, cornerback is a massive need for them. They get the next best cornerback in the draft and replace Jalen Ramsey. Well, I think Jalen Ramsey and C.J. Henderson, they look like very similar players in my opinion. I know I've said that about Jeff Okudah, but I think when you look at Henderson, he's got very long arms. He's very, very athletic and very quick. I think you put him out there, he can be a number 1 corner immediately.
I mean, we talked about every time the Jags were making a pick, they do need a corner. They didn't get one in mind, but I mean, you don't get a Okudah, but you still get a top level corner. And I don't. It's not out the realms of possibility he goes in the top 10. And the Jags need a lot. We were talking about this. I personally think they're kind of stripping everything back, ready to go again. I don't know if you're thinking the same, but it's a good start, with C.J. Henderson.
Yeah, it's one of them where they could go anywhere in the draft and the player would be a star. But I think C.J. Henderson, with his stock has risen. I know I've said that about nearly every single player, it seems like, in this draft, but his stock really has risen since his combine performance. And I don't think he would be available at pick 20 for them. So if they really want to get that second best card in the draft, get him at pick number 9, and you can focus on other needs somewhere else. Maybe a Javon Kinlaw will force you at pick 20. We just don't know.
Yeah, well, that'd be a surprise, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe not. But pick 10, I've got the Cleveland Browns. They're going offensive tackle as well. I've got them taking Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle from Georgia. Again, I really like this fit with the Browns. They signed Jack Conklin from the Titans to be their starting right tackle. They drafted Andrew Thomas to be their starting left tackle. And, that offensive line is just revamped in the offseason. And it's, the new blockers for Baker Mayfield, because we've seen the weapons that the Browns have. It's hard to be underachieving for so long. They've got Odell Beckham, they've got Jarvis Landry, they've got Nick Chubb. So you've got to protect Baker Mayfield so you can get the ball out quickly, because last season the offensive line was a real weak spot for the Browns, and it's why we saw a big regression in Baker Mayfield's play, because he just didn't have time to throw the ball, and when he was throwing the ball, they were getting picked off. So I think Andrew Thomas, the next best offensive tackle off the board, and he goes to the Cleveland Browns.
I agree, and I mean, I keep saying I mean. I've noticed that. I keep saying I mean. So I'm not going to say that. Andrew Thomas, as you said, is a more out-and-out left tackle than, for example, a Wills or maybe a Wirfs. Maybe he's more suited to that position. But I have no arguments that he's arguably the best left tackle. So I agree.
Yeah, that's
nothing out of left field yet.
No, not yet. Anyway, moving on. Pick number 11, New York Jets. Again, we've said they need plenty of needs. Well, they have plenty of needs, but I haven't taken the best wide receiver in the draft, CeeDee Lamb, same pick as Kieran here. The number 1 wide receiver in the draft, and you've got to give Sam Darnold weapons on the outside. Lost Robbie Anderson. They signed Brashad Perriman from the Buccaneers. I don't think he can be that number 1 option. I don't think he can be. So, maybe go offensive lineman here, but the top 3 being taken off, and you've got Mekhi Becton making up the top 4, but with that diluted drug sample, I think that the Jets think, well, do we want to take that risk going from Mekhi Becton with all the other offensive linemen off the board? I don't think they do. I think they go wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, Oklahoma.
I mean, I just said it again. I need to stop saying that. I agree. There you go. I'll just leave it. I agree because we had the same pick, as we do at pick 13 as well. So
Yeah.
I agree with pick 13 as well.
Anyway, we'll go on to pick 13 in a bit, but we'll go to pick 12 first, and that's the Carolina Panthers, which obviously we just mentioned they traded back with the Raiders and got the 12th overall pick, and they still end up with their guy Derek Brown, defensive tackle from Auburn. Go on.
No, I'm just saying exactly. I mean, if you can drop back, 5 positions and still get the best guy in that position, like he is. So, I mean, what great business. I just said again. Great business from the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, moving back, getting those extra picks and still getting that guy, Derek Brown. If it fell to pick 12, I wouldn't honestly be surprised because I think some teams have legitimate concerns about his pass rushing ability. But the Panthers, it's a big need there. They lost Ontario Poe. They lost Gerald McCoy. They take the best defensive tackle in the draft at pick 12. I mean, brilliant business from the Carolina Panthers who are looking to rebuild under new head coach Matt Rule.
Definitely.
So moving on to pick 13. Again, same pick as Kieran here. San Francisco 49ers, they take Henry Ruggs, the third wide receiver, Alabama. We've mentioned how he can play outside, inside, flex. We've mentioned how he's not had many drops in college for Alabama. And, put him in this offense with Kyle Shanahan, and this is a very, very scary offense, and it gives another weapon for Jimmy Garoppolo. If Jimmy Garoppolo is their quarterback, we don't know if he's going to be, but if he is, he gives another weapon there on the outside, Henry Ruggs. In my opinion, taking before Jerry Jeudy might be a little bit controversial, but I think he just fits better with the 49ers.
Yeah, and as you said, gives Jimmy G another weapon. There's questions over him because San Francisco were a very running-based team. So, give him Kittle, give him Ruggs, give him Samuel. No reason 49ers can't be as successful as last year.
Exactly. Pick 14.
I say I agree. We had the same pick.
Yeah. I just thought the fit was better than a certain wide receiver that will be coming up in a bit. 14, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They take the next best offensive tackle and probably the last remaining. Well, he's the last remaining of the top 4, as we like to call them. Mekhi Becton, offensive tackle from Louisville. We've already gone through this again. It's the same pick. Put him on the offensive line, protect Brady so Brady can get to his weapons. It's as simple as that. He's got a very, very high ceiling. Mekhi Becton, what the fuck was that? Someone touched my foot, maybe jump. Something made jump there. Mekhi Becton, next best offensive tackle on the board. And, I can't really explain this much more. It just feels a need, what the Buccaneers need.
Yeah. What can I say? I can't go. I actually disagree with the pick.
Yeah.
Even though I told you the exact same thing, I disagree. No,
Exactly.
It feels like a perfect fit. And in terms of Mekhi Becton and Tampa, I just think it's a match made in heaven. It just feels like.
It does indeed. And, he could play left tackle, play right tackle, wherever you want him to play. He can play it well. Number 15. The Denver Broncos, they fill their wide receiver need with Jerry Jeudy. Now, I've heard they're very, very high on Jerry Jeudy, in particular at wide receiver. And I could see him falling to 15 because there's been some concerns about an injury, a core muscle injury, which is actually, he got a doctor's note and said there's nothing wrong with it. But, some teams, they can be more passive than others. And I think if the Denver Broncos got Jerry Jeudy at pick 15, it would be an absolute steal. Put him next to Cortland Sutton, and you've got Drew Lock, another weapon to use.
Yeah, partner him alongside Noah Fant. He was gone on mine, but Jeudy is a lot better than Jefferson. So I think if Judy's available at 15, you'd be stupid to pass up on people. I mean, for a long time, he was, the best receiver. People were saying he's the first off the board. I mean, he's a top 10 talent. That's still there, but at 15, you can't let it go. And it's not stupid to think Denver can now have. I mean, if you've got Cortland Sutton and then he got injured, if you also had Jerry Jeudy, that means you've still got a wide receiver 1,
Yeah, I agree. And I think the only reason he fell here was because the Raiders went up and got Okudah, and I don't think the Carolina Panthers needed Jerry Jeudy at all. So he falls into the Denver Broncos lap, and they'll be very happy about that. Moving on to the Atlanta Falcons, and they take Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle from South Carolina. Best available player here for me for the Atlanta Falcons. And the Atlanta Falcons, again, they're very high on Javon Kinlaw. There are rumours they want to trade up for him. Well, they're going at pick 16 just because of how the board fell. And again, very good pass rushing defensive tackle. And I think his ceiling is very, very high. If he can overcome that knee injury, which we don't know if he can do yet, but put him next to Grady Jarrett on the middle of that defensive line for the Falcons, and it's a great pick for the Falcons.
We were both saying that we were surprised Kinlaw got to 18. It's a little bit of a shock he gets to 16, to be honest with you. I mean, you talked about the injury problems. That's a risk. The Falcons, is that their immediate need?
Possibly not. Go on.
Or is it more a best player on the board sort of situation?
It's one of those where they've gone best player available. They need cornerbacks. There's no denying they need cornerbacks, but why reach and get a cornerback? CJ Henderson's off the board. Jeff Kuda's obviously off the board. The Atlanta Falcons, if they get to pick 16 here, I think the Falcons in tonight's draft, they're actually going to trade up and get somebody. I really do think they are going to trade up, but on my mock draft, I had them sticking at pick 16. If they like corners, they might want to trade back and still get a decent corner. But yeah, best available player for me. Put him next to Grady Jarrett and upgrade that defensive line.
I wouldn't be surprised if they traded up for CJ Henderson, or I mean, speaking on corners, I know we're going to quickly skip to your next picks, but if these first two best corners are off the board, your pick at number 17 and what's going to happen doesn't surprise me, because you may be able to drop and still pick up Fulton, Terrell, Gladney, Diggs, Johnson, all these players that are available as starters. Doesn't surprise me, but Falcons, they didn't trade and they got the best player left on the board. So I don't mind it, but I agree with you. The corner's in a bigger position and they may trade up.
Yeah, they may indeed. I think they actually end up doing that. Now, number 17, we have another projected trade here. It's with the Kieran's Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings acquire the 17th overall pick from my Dallas Cowboys. In exchange, the Cowboys move back and get the 22nd pick. They get a 3rd round pick and they get a 5th round pick from the Minnesota Vikings. With the pick, the Minnesota Vikings take offensive tackle Josh Jones, in my opinion, the 5th best tackle in this draft behind the top 4. But even though he's the fifth best offensive tackle, don't get it twisted, he's still a very good offensive lineman. It's just those top 4 are unbelievable, and there's going to be a big run on tackles. Now, I've got them traded to 17 and taking Josh Jones because I think the Miami Dolphins like him a lot, and he would have been the pick there, 18 for them. And I think if he does come off the board to the Minnesota Vikings, then look at another position. I know you had them taking Austin Jackson, but did they really like Austin Jackson at pick 22? I don't know. But I had them trading up, jumping ahead of Miami Dolphins, taking Josh Jones, offensive lineman, and it means the Dolphins can't have him. And it feels a need. It feels a need for the Minnesota Vikings.
It does. I'm arguing with myself whether I like it or I don't. And I think I'm leaning towards I don't like it. I don't like it. It's not anything knocks on yours. We're going up 5 spots. It's understandable. But for Josh Jones, is it worth it to lose 3 picks? Maybe I'm not as high on him as everyone else is, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're not really losing 3 picks because, you're giving up pick 22, but you're moving up 5 spots. You lose your 3rd round pick, but you do have 2 3rd round picks, actually. That you actually, even if you lost that 3rd round pick, you still have a 3rd round pick. And the 5th round pick, well, it is what it is. It's not a very, very high pick. And, the player might not even turn out to be anything good. But, yeah, Josh Jones, I think he wouldn't have fallen to 22. So I think jumping ahead of the Miami Dolphins, if you really want this guy, it is what it is. You've got to make the move. Now, moving on to pick 18. Go on.
I was just going to say, there is enough there to say that this, it's a decent decision. But for me, I'm not fit. Maybe it's because I'm really selfish and on all the draft picks to myself.
You like Austin Jackson, don't you?
He's a nice guy, he seems lovely.
But it's understandable. I think the Vikings, though, whatever happens, they do walk away from this 1st round with their offensive lineman. I think that's what it's looking like to happen.
I mean, Mike Florio just quickly said for the first 2 picks, double down on offensive line. Maybe Jones and Jackson, you know, or trade up with one of the big boys and get one of the big players. But I don't know what we'd have to give up for that.
Yeah, you have to give a few fair bit, and is it worth it? And at the end of the day, we'll have to see how the draft board pans out. Pick 18, the Miami Dolphins had to take Xavier McKinney, safety from Alabama. This is a team that needs help on the back end. I think I mentioned that. They signed Byron Jones. They've still got Xavier Howard, but the safeties, they're not looking too strong at the moment. I think getting a Xavier McKinney in there, I've mentioned this before, he's a prospect that's not got a very high ceiling, but he's not got a very super low floor. He's going to be a very good player in the NFL. Best safety in the draft, and they can both say that. And the Dolphins, they feel another need and make the defense stronger and replace Minkah Fitzpatrick, who they traded away for this pick.
To be fair, doesn't surprise me. I mean, arguable based on position because he's the best player in that position. There's arguments that he's the best player left on the board at 18 at this point. Yeah. So that doesn't surprise me. I like the pick. They've plugged a gap in quarterback. They're another one that could do with protecting the quarterback, but they may deal with that in the coming picks. I've not seen yours, or I don't remember yours. You have sent it me, but I tried not to look at it because I wanted to be surprised. I have no problems with it at all.
Yeah, so a nice pick there for the Dolphins. Moving on to pick 19, the Oakland Raiders. We had them trading up for Jeffrey Okudah with their original first-round pick. And obviously that meant they couldn't get Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb or Henry Ruggs or whatever wide receiver they liked. But at pick 19, they feel that need. They get Justin Jefferson, the next best player on the board. I mentioned I wouldn't be surprised if he went to the top 20, and I won't be surprised if he went to the Raiders. I think he's a really, really good wide receiver. You put him next to Tyrell Williams and Hunter Renfrow, those other receivers in Oakland. They signed Nelson Aguilar, but can you rely on him? And it's only a one-year deal. You get Justin Jefferson in to your wide receiver room at pick 19.
I think this is my favourite process that you've done here. The Panthers win, the Raiders win. This seems, I want this to happen now because, maybe the Raiders don't get Jerry Jeudy, but is the drop to Justin Jefferson that far? And you get an elite corner in Jeff Okudah? Exactly. I mean, if this happens, the Raiders have won the 2020 draft in the first round.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's what I was thinking. Do they want to take a wide receiver at 12 and get a top one? But then at cornerback, they don't really have... They're getting a good cornerback, but it's not Jeffrey Okudah. They get the best cornerback in the draft, and they still get a very good wide receiver at 19. I think Raiders fans have got to be happy with this.
Yeah, I love everything about what you've just said, and that is beautiful.
Thank you very much. Pick 20. Jacksonville Jaguars, an interesting pick here. I've got them taking Kayvon Chaisson from LSU, the outside linebacker, more of a blitzing defensive end. But the reason I've gone for this is because we saw the text the other day on Twitter. Well, we saw the tweet of Tony Khan, the owner, and Yannick Ngakoue going at it. And I think if Yannick Ngakoue is actually traded eventually, I think he will be. That relationship is just up in flames now. There's no recovering from that. He won't be a Jaguar in 2020. You get his replacement, Kayvon Chaisson. You put him opposite Josh Allen, the next best available player on the board, in my opinion. Second best pass rusher in the draft, in my opinion. And yeah, put him on the Jags defense. And again, we've just said the Jags, they can improve anywhere, and they get another pass rusher to replace maybe Yannick Ngakoue. They might trade.
Yeah, they've officially severed ties. It's fair to say, Yannick and the Jags. It wasn't exactly a pretty leaving. It wasn't riding off into the sunset to a different team. Yeah. It's very much burn every bridge as you cross it with Ngakoue at the moment. But we both have the same position in this exact pick. I had Murray, you had Chaisson. I agree with Ngakoue. Loves to go and get after the quarterback, get sacked. And I think Chaisson's more of that player than Kenneth Murray is. I completely agree. And I mean, to me, Chaisson kind of looks a bit like a defensive end in the way he kind of, tries to get straight after.
I mean, that's the thing. He's listed as an outside linebacker, but he does. At LSU, he played majority of that defensive end position and rushed the passer. He wasn't really one of those players that dropped back in coverage. No, that was more of Patrick Queen's job. Patrick Queen dropped in coverage and was the tackling linebacker, but Kayvon Chaisson was more of the blitzer defensive end on the defensive line.
Yeah, exactly. And if you want a guy to replace Ngakoue, I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. I would not be surprised if Chaisson doesn't make it past the top 20 because he's a very talented outside linebacker, and the Jags, well, they need everything, but I agree. Maybe they take Kenneth Murray. Maybe they even take Patrick Queen. Maybe, they do need linebacker help. But.
Yeah, and they might even take a defensive lineman for all we know. They could go anywhere with this draft pick, especially if they get Jennison at pick 9. Moving on to the next, what's the next lot of picks? We've got the Philadelphia Eagles next up, and a guy I'm high on, Denzel Mims, wide receiver from Baylor. I think they're new wide receivers. I think Eagles fans there'll be a riot. It's fair to say if they don't take a wide receiver in the first round. Is it like they have to take a wide receiver in the first round and otherwise their draft's over? Absolutely not, because they can get, like you said, brilliant wide receivers in the second round. But I think Denzel Mims, he fits the Eagles offense very, very well. Carson Wentz needs that number one target. I think with Denzel Mims, that he's not just good at one thing. He's not just a red zone target. He's not just a speedster. He's both, really. And at that size, 6'3", can high point the ball. I think he becomes Carson Wentz's new favorite weapon.
I like the idea, but I also like the idea of maybe T Higgins. But is Mims better than T Higgins? I know you rate Mims, I rate T Higgins.
It's interchangeable, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, we butt heads on that in terms of who we prefer. I'm
Yeah.
not as high on Mims as you are, but there is no doubt the Philadelphia Eagles need a wide receiver. I say this as not giving with them one, by the way. I do understand that it probably makes more sense that they take one, but all the best ones are off the board. Mims is probably, arguably, I think T Higgins, but the next best thing. So nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I actually had the Eagles trying to trade up to get a wide receiver, but the Raiders trading up for Jeffrey Kuda made more sense for me, and the Eagles couldn't pull off a trade with anybody else just because the 49ers, do they want to trade down for pick 13? I don't think they do. I think they want to get wide receiver. The Jets, I don't think they want to trade down. I think they want to get a wide receiver. Maybe the Browns could look to trade down, but with the way the board fell, I had them taking Denzel Mims, wide receiver from Baylor. Pick 22 was the pick that the Cowboys acquired from the Vikings while they moved back, and they end up with Christian Fulton, corner from LSU. I like Christian Fulton as a cornerback, and I would like him on the Cowboys. I would prefer him in the 20s, though. I would prefer a trade back and picking him up later on in the rounds, because I think he will be available. Not later on in the rounds, but later on in round one. I think he still will be available at this pick, especially if the draft fell like the way it did. Because I think looking back, I think people like AJ Terrell might even go before him with the way his draft buzz has been going on. But yeah, really nice pick here. It's a need for the Cowboys. They need a cornerback. Lost Byron Jones and uncertainty after this season. Do they keep any of their cornerbacks on the roster? There's only one under contract. You get this guy in. He played against great competition. He's a great man corner. Yeah, it's a nice pick.
We've agreed on more than I thought we would, to be honest, because I had Christian Fulton going to the Cowboys. Obviously, it's a little bit different position. And I agree, if you can get a little bit further back, get a couple more picks and still end up with the player you was going to end up with, it's a win on both situations. And I'm looking down at some other picks on this board, and I think the team you've traded with has won as well, because they picked up another good corner. I like the idea of you getting the same player but getting picks as well. Another successful trade option from you there, like the Panthers and the Raiders. I don't like one side of it, but I'm liking what you've given us here.
Yeah,
in terms of you ended up with Fulton.
Yeah, I think Fulton makes more of a sense at pick 22. I think the Josh Jones trade for the Vikings, you might not like it, but I think with the way the draft's going to fall, I think that if you can jump ahead of the Dolphins and completely finesse them, then that would be a nice route to go. But yeah, moving on to pick 23, the New England Patriots. Now I've got them taking a defensive end. It's not AJ Epinesa, it's Yetur Gross-Matos. Again, Epinesa and Gross-Matos, in my opinion, they're pretty interchangeable. Whether they go 3 or 4, who goes 3 or 4, you can change that about. I had them taking Gross-Matos. Again, I think he had about 9 sacks with Penn State last season, and he's a player who's got that positional flex, can play inside, outside, and he's not one of those speed rushers, but he's one of those players that he's got the good finesse moves, and he can use his technique to get to the quarterback. And I do like the pick here for the Patriots, and it's a need.
It feels weird because I feel like I'm not being defiant enough. I'm not saying this is rubbish, because it's not. It makes sense. It's a different player, same position. You get a good player in Gross-Matos. I think if there's a guy who can make a steady player brilliant, as I said, I think Gross-Matos is very steady. If there's a guy who can make him brilliant, it's Bill Belichick. So nothing wrong with the pick at all. And I don't think 23 is too high either. There's arguments that Gross-Matos is a second rounder. There is arguments there that he's not good enough to be in the first round. But I personally think he will go in the first round.
Yeah, I personally do. I think he's looking like a second round talent, but with the needs that teams have, and the way the defensive ends are going to come off the board. Because I think when you look at the defensive ends in this draft, you've got Chase Young, you've got Killeron Chase on, you've got Yetur Gross-Matos and Epinesa. After that, it's kind of like, do you want to pick a different defensive end in the first round? I don't think you would do, really. No. So yeah, Gross-Matos, I've got him going 23 to the Patriots. Pick 24, I've got the Saints going in a different direction to you, and they're going with Kenneth Murray, linebacker, Oklahoma. When I look at the linebacker spot on the Saints, it's the only position of need, in my opinion. And I think if you get a player like Kenneth Murray, high upside player, obviously you've got Demario Davis, he's more of a right outside linebacker. You can put this guy in the middle of the defense, inside linebacker. He run around, make tackles for you, make that defense even better. Obviously, I know in your mock draft he was off the board earlier, so you couldn't put him to the New Orleans Saints. You give him Jordan Love instead. I love the Jordan Love idea as well. But Kenneth Murray, if they are going to pick a player that's not a quarterback, I think he will be the pick, and in my opinion, is the best linebacker in this draft.
Well, one thing I will say is, you get Kenneth Murray here. Wait till the second round. You can pick up Jalen Hurts if you are the Saints, and he can learn from things. So there is no way that this is a bad pick. I agree. I think he is better than Patrick Queen. So I'm glad you put Murray first over Queen. And I prefer the Jordan Love idea. I think it's a brilliant idea. But as you say, if you can get Murray, then Hurts later to build a franchise around, happy days.
Yeah, or maybe even they don't even take a quarterback. Maybe they just think, well, we've got Taysom Hill on the roster. Yeah. We've got Drew Brees 2 more years. We can look at that next year or even the year after. But exactly. I think either way, it's going to be a pick where the Saints can. The team's so good they can go any direction, and it doesn't really matter. Pick 25, I've got the Minnesota Vikings taking their cornerback. They take AJ Terrell, cornerback out of Clemson. Another, like I said, his draft stock is rising, so I wouldn't be surprised if he went before pick 25. So I think the Vikings here are getting a really nice pick. Yeah, he got torched in the national championship game, but you look at his body of work over time at Clemson. He's a good ball hawk. He's got good size, good speed, and corner is a need for the Vikings. Obviously, they've still got Mike Hughes, but they need someone else on the outside. And I think AJ Terrell is a very good outside corner for the Minnesota Vikings.
So happy with this pick. Beyond happy with this pick, because as I said before, I'm not the biggest fan of the trade up for Josh Jones, but in my mock draft, I would have absolutely loved AJ Terrell to be available for the Vikings, and he definitely would have been the pick. I think he's a starting corner going into next season for us, definitely. And, it's hard to please the fans, I was struggling, what if I give Dallas a bad pick? Will will be mad at me, So you've made me a very happy person with pick 25, AJ Terrell.
Yeah, it's where the board fell. Like I said, if he goes any higher, I really won't be surprised. But if he is there at 25 for the Vikings, I think he's the pick, and I think he's a very good pick as well. Moving on. Pick 26, Miami Dolphins are on the clock for the third time in this first round, and I finally have them just, getting offensive linemen, at which the Minnesota Vikings jumped up, finessed them. They didn't want to overdraft, so they took Xavier McKinney instead of pick 18. They wait till pick 26. They get Cesar Ruiz, who in my opinion is the best interior offensive lineman in this draft, in terms of guard or center.
Yeah.
And he's coming from Michigan. He's very experienced. And centers are very, very hard to draft in the NFL because it's a very important position. You've got to understand how the defense is looking, who's blitzing, who's not. But Cesar Ruiz he was a leader on that Michigan team. And I think, again, with pick 26, is really good for the Dolphins. And they need guards or centers. Wherever they want to play him, he's going to improve the offensive line and, help the quarterback, whichever quarterback they draft earlier on in this draft.
Yeah, again, he wasn't even in my 32, but there is definitely arguments that he should be because he is a first round talent. Would you say he's the best guard in the draft?
Well, I think he's more of a center than a guard, but I think he probably is the best guard or center in this draft. Like I said, interior, not offensive tackle. I think he's the best one in this draft.
Where do you think the Dolphins utilize him more? Because I think the Dolphins need a guard more than they need a center.
Yeah, they could play him at guard. Obviously, they signed Eric Flowers to play guard as well. But it's Eric Flowers, so we don't know about that. They signed Ted Karras, a center from the Patriots, so they might look to play him at center and then play Ruiz at guard. And if that happens, well, you're going to get a good player in there because, like I said, I think that positional flex. I think he can play center or guard and be very good at it.
Yeah, no problems there. No problems there.
Next, well, this is the final slate of picks here. Pick 27 to pick 32. And the 27, I have the Seahawks making a very interesting pick here. And I've got them taking a player who many people think is a bit raw. And he could be a potential bust. But I think he's got a very high ceiling. And the place he's going to, the Seattle Seahawks, I think it would be brilliant for him. That's Grant Delpit, saved from LSU. Their coach, Pete Carroll, he's a defensive coach. He knows how to get the best out of defensive players. I think if Grant Delpit landed with the Seahawks, there's a very, very high chance that he doesn't end up being a bust and he ends up being a top tier safety. And safety's a need for them really because I know they've got Tedrick Thompson. I can't remember who else they've got really at safety. Yeah, they need defensive line, but if you can get someone like Grant Delpit on that back end of that defense, and they've never really had a top tier safety since Cam Chancellor retired or Earl Thomas left in free agency last year. So they get Grant Delpit, and he can play anywhere around the field. Really, he can play a bit of corner if he want. And there is a tackling issue there for Grant Delpit, but in coverage he's brilliant. And I think tackling it can be improved under a coach like Pete Carroll.
Questions over whether he's a first round talent, but as you said, I think they can get the best out of him in Seattle. I like it. I do like it. I'm just questioning whether he's a first round talent. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm not rating him highly enough.
I could see him falling into the second round because he has high bust potential, but I think when you look at his potential upside, he needs to go to a team with a defensive coach and a culture there that is established. And I think the Seahawks is a team like that who are contending. You get this athletic playmaker on the back end. I think it's a great pick for the Seahawks.
Yeah, I just think they may need a defensive end a little bit more, but
is what it is, isn't it? They could pick one up in the second or, but like I said, I think the Seahawks are genuinely going to trade back. I didn't put them as a trade back in my mock draft, but I think they will end up trading back because they always do. Moving on to the next pick. The Baltimore Ravens, pick 28. They get Patrick Queen, linebacker from LSU. Linebacker is potentially their only need, similar to the Saints. They're not a team with a lot of needs, and they're a team that can compete straight away. I've took them the next best available linebacker. I couldn't have him sliding any more further back than out the first round. So I've got them taking Patrick Queen. Again, a team, not a lot of needs, but best player available.
Yeah, we spoke in the AFC North that we think Patrick Queen's a good fit for the Baltimore Ravens. But with all the other linebackers off the board, really, that could possibly go before him, with Murray and Chase on off the board, there's no other choice for the Baltimore Ravens there.
No, I think he is a player, again, who had a really good season at LSU. Very, very athletic linebacker, fits in with that defense brilliantly. And that defense is looking pretty scary if they got either Patrick Queen or in your mock draft Caleb Chase on.
That team's looking scary.
Yeah. Moving on to pick 29, the Tennessee Titans. I've gone a bit of a different direction here. I've gone off into tackle Austin Jackson, USC. Now, they lost Jack Conklin in the offseason, right tackle. And I know they have a right tackle that they like. They also have Taylor at left tackle. But I think you need to make sure you're keeping your strength as it is, and that's running the ball with Derrick Henry. Yeah, Ryan Tannehill had a resurgence with the Titans. They got that contract, but you've got to keep him upright. So you've got to get that new starting right tackle. And I think Austin Jackson can be that guy. Create lanes for Derrick Henry, and after Josh Jones in the top 4, I think is the next best offensive tackle on the board.
Yeah, we mentioned, for example, like you need to keep Tannehill upright. Offensive tackle is definitely a need for the Titans that they need to address during this draft. With the picks they have, it seems the smartest pick with what's left on the board, what they need. It seems smart.
Yeah, and that's why I went with it. Really, a simple pick, but your two best players are Derrick Henry and you starting quarterback Ryan Tannehill just got paid. You've got to keep him upright and create the lanes, and you can't go wrong with a pick like Austin Jackson. Like we said, he's not only he's a nice guy, but he's also a really good player as well. And I think that's what the Titans are getting. Pick number 30. I've got the Green Bay Packers taking a wide receiver like Kieran's draft. I've got them taking Jalen Reagor though from TCU. I really won't be surprised if Jalen Reagor goes like mid-20s. If a team wants to wide receiver in the mid-20s, if he goes that high, because I know a few teams are high on him. I think when you look at Jalen Reagor, it's the potential upside. He's very, very quick, very good run after the catch. Put him in this offense with Aaron Rodgers. There are some issues that he might have, a couple of drop issues, but this guy can run very good routes, and Aaron Rodgers just drop the ball off to him. You can use him as an end around. You can get the ball off quickly to him with a screen pass. I think he would just fit Green Bay offense really nicely and complements Devontae Adams really nicely.
Depth at wide receiver this year, man. The fact that we've done 2 mock drafts, Brandon Ayuk hasn't made the first round. KJ Hamler's not made the first round. Jalen Reagor's only just making the first round. T. Higgins hasn't made the first round in any of our drafts.
Michael Pittman.
Yeah. How many wide receivers are there going to be? Jalen Reagor, is he the best out of the ones left? Not to me. You know that. That's not, that's...
You like Big T, don't you? Big T Higgins.
Yeah, but is it a problem? No, because they still get a really good wide receiver in Jalen Reagor. And, I mean, you're spoiled for choice at wide receiver. That could have been, I think, any of about 5 people there.
I agree. I've just gone with Jalen Reagor just because I think he's... I just prefer Jalen Reagor over the other receivers, and I think he's a nice fit with the Packers. But like you say, could go anywhere. But I think wide receiver or tight end maybe is the pick here for the Packers because they need offensive weapons.
Could take Cole Kmet. It's not a bad idea.
It's not.
Or that man I can't pronounce the name of. That tight end that has a really long name.
Albert O. Yeah, we'll just call him Albert O, but I think he will be. You could probably get him later in the draft anyway. But pick 31, we've got the final trade of this mock draft, and it's the Colts. They don't have a first-round pick after trading for DeForest Buckner. That was the 13th overall pick the 49ers got. But they jump right back with the 49ers. The Colts acquire the 31st overall pick from the San Francisco 49ers in exchange for pick 44, their second-round pick. They have 2 second-round picks this year. Pick 22 and a 2021 third-round pick, so a third-round pick next year. And with that pick, the Indianapolis Colts say they're heir to Phillip Rivers, Jordan Love, quarterback from Utah State. I do like this fit a lot, and the Colts are a team that are very interested in Jordan Love. Phillip Rivers, they've signed into a 1-year deal. He's not going to be there for much longer, really. Let's be honest. Phillip Rivers' career is coming to an end. And I don't think they're very high on Jacoby Brissett. So why not get a player, Jordan Love? No pressure for him to play in the first season. You can start Phillip Rivers. You can learn off Phillip Rivers and Jacoby Brissett. And I think year 2, you could be looking to potentially, be that starting quarterback for the Colts. And with a very good offensive line, the Colts that they have, and decent weapons, I think he would fit in really nicely with the Colts there, Jordan Love.
Love the pick. No pun intended. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts want to jump back into the first round because, they got away from it with the DeForest Buckner trade. They must love talking to the 49ers on the phone. Maybe there's something we don't know. But one thing is, do they need a quarterback if they jump back into the first round, or could they just wait for a Hurts, a Fromm, a Eason? What do you think?
They could definitely wait, but it's up to them. Do they want to take a late flyer, or do they want to get a potential first-round pick with high upside? Like, I do really like Jalen Hurts. I think he's a player. Whoever gets Jalen Hurts is going to get a very, very good professional and a very hard-working quarterback. But Jordan Love, we've seen him in the season, in the 2018 season more specifically. Last season he struggled a lot, but I really like the environment that he comes into with the Colts because their offensive line is so good. They've got a good coach. They're a well-run franchise. They get the weapons to support him. And the defense is a young and up-and-coming defense. I think he can really grow with that team. And I think he would be, a nice pick at 31. It's nice value, really, because I think there are some teams, like you mentioned, the Saints, some teams before us. I mean, even the Raiders, they might look to take a quarterback. There's some teams before the Colts that might even take Jordan Love. And the fact that you're getting him at pick 31 with the upside that he has, I think it's a really good pick. Yeah,
they may be getting hot feet when it got to back end of the first round and, no one's taking Love. I think it's basically like a ticking time bomb because someone's going to take him early second round, if he's available. So I wouldn't be surprised if he got a bit of hot feet, went, God, we need this right now. And the 49ers will be happy acceptance of the rashness of the Colts.
Yeah, jumping up 13 spots there to get him. So they jumped a fair few bit from the second round. But they do have 2 second-round picks. They've still got pick 34, I think it is, from the Redskins. But they've got the Redskins' second-round pick anyway. So they're giving up pick 44, but they're not giving up their whole day 2 draft picks. They still got picks on day 2, and they still get that future quarterback. Final pick of the draft, Kansas City Chiefs. They fill their main need for me, and that's cornerback, and they take the next best one available. And if Jeff Gladney is available at pick 32, I think it's a really good pick for the Chiefs. And a team that won the Super Bowl, not a lot of holes. They did lose their cornerback to the Redskins, Kendall Fuller, and the cornerback room's looking a little bit light, looking like they're on a position of need, really. And I've got them taking Jeff Gladney, a little bit undersized, but what he brings from an athletic side and a man coverage side and how physical he is at the point of, with the receiver, at the point of jumping up for the ball, I think it's a really good fit for the Chiefs. And yeah, he's 23 years old. He's not exactly a youngish rookie, but he's been in college a long time for TCU. An experienced cornerback, and with the way the draft board fell, the next best corner available.
Wouldn't be surprised if this happened. I mean, I gave him a running back, but I think they could easily wait till the second round and pick up Dobbins, Edwards-Helaire. If they picked up Edwards-Helaire, that's unfair on the league. I don't care.
Do you know what I think? Edwards-Helaire would be a super nice fit. Buccaneers. Get him on the Buccaneers.
Oh my God! Could you imagine? That is a wait. Oh my! Don't start with that. Oh, trade me Vikings jersey away now for a Tampa one, honestly. No.
It would be an unbelievable money.
It'd be a great team to watch. I'll never backstab the Vikings, don't worry about that. But I agree.
I'll just go on.
If Edwards-Helaire goes to Tampa Bay, that's an unbelievable pick.
It is indeed. And before we end, I was going to put this slide in, but I decided not to. But I'm going to say it now anyway. What player was not in your mock draft, Kieran, or not in my mock draft, that you think could be a potential player to look out for on day 2? Just one player.
Do you want to go first on me?
I'll go first this time. I'll let you think about it if you want.
We just mentioned Edwards-Helaire, but I do think he's one. I think you know who mine's going to be. This isn't fair.
Yes, I'll go with mine first if you want, and I'll let the people keep.
Can I list 3?
Can I list 3?
Can I list 3?
Yeah, go on. I'll list 3 as well then if you want. That's fine.
Yeah. Can I go?
Go on. I can tell you're bursting to go. Go on. Tell us who you've got.
Edwards-Helaire, Jalen Johnson, T. Higgins. There you go.
Interesting picks. And why do you think they could be potential sleepers?
Well, I think Jalen Johnson, I feel, unfortunately for him, he's got lost in a cornerback class of Diggs, Gladney, all them sort of Fulton even in that sort of section, and he's not been talked about. So I think if he could fulfill his potential, he could outdo all of them, in my opinion. T. Higgins, he's another one. Great size for a wide receiver. Put him up against man-to-man corner on any guy on the sideline, and he's out jumping him. In the end zone, he's out jumping him, and also he's got a bit of speed for a tall guy,
Yeah.
And, I love, he may not be able to do all the routes, but the routes he does do, I think he could easily win. And if you've got a quarterback that just needs to throw a high ball up there downfield, say 3rd and 10 with 30 seconds to go and you just need to get up the field. Throw it up to him. More than likely he's going to catch it. And Edwards-Helaire, because for me he's the best running back in this class. And I can't remember what game it was, and I really want to remember, but there was a game in college last year where, a bit like Derrick Henry, single-handedly dominated the team. I can't remember the name.
He reminds me a lot of Mark Ingram, undersized running back, but he can catch the ball out of the backfield and he can do a lot in the run game. I think whoever gets him is just getting a complete playmaker.
Yeah, I think he can carry a team on the back, very similar to Henry.
Yeah, and my 3 players I'm going to go with. First player, J.K. Dobbins, running back from Ohio State. I think he's a potential sleeper in the second round. Whatever team gets him is getting a good running back. I think the Steelers could be a nice fit for him. Second player, wide receiver, Michael Pittman Jr. From USC. 6'4", 222 pounds. I mean, he's he run a very good 40. I think he ran a 4.42 40 something, and it's 6'4". That's pretty good. And Michael Pittman, he only had, I think it was one drop, couple of drops maybe in college, so another pair of safe hands similar to Henry Ruggs. Big possession receiver, but can get him behind. He reminds me a lot of Mike Evans, really, and I think he could be a potential second-round pick. Very, very good. And the final player I'm going to go with is Antoine Winfield, safety from Minnesota.
No way. I just searched him right now before you'd said his name. He's genuinely, if you can see on the screen, I've just typed his name in on Google before you'd done that. That is so bizarre. I
think Antoine Winfield, whichever gets him, I think he is arguably. I mean, he's challenging Grant Delbert for that second best safety in the draft class. Son of former player Antoine Winfield, obviously, because Antoine Winfield Jr. played for the Minnesota Vikings. But in Minnesota, he had 7 interceptions this year. He's only 5'9", but he's very, very quick, very good in coverage, hits like a train. And I think he actually also got endorsed by Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann Mathieu wants the Kansas City Chiefs to take Antoine Winfield if he's available. So he's a potential name to look out for on day 2. I think he could be a potential home run pick in the second round just because of the upside that he has.
I mean, must be, because we transmitted thoughts to each other there of Antoine Winfield Jr. because I don't know how that happened, but there you go.
Yeah, I think he's a player. Well, I mean, there's no reason why he couldn't sneak into the first round, just because of how good he is. But yeah, that's it really. That's all for the mock draft.
Chris Sims had him in the first round.
Chris Sims had him as number 1 safe, didn't
he? Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. But as we say, I want to thank you for joining us. Look at that end of slideshow. There you go. Thanks for putting that together, Will. Very much appreciated. Thank you for joining us for this mock draft. But before we go, I will talk about all the things coming up in a weekly term on this channel. We have got, if you stuck with us the whole way, 2.5 hours, well done. Whack this on at about 10:30. By the time we finished, the draft might be live. So there you go. Anyway, you've got on a Monday, the Hull City You Choose career mode should be returning soon with Josh. The technical difficulties are out the window. He's got a controller. We're ready to go. Tuesdays, you've got the Wrestling Corner. There was an exodus of releases. That's Pokemon Go. good work there, Will. I don't know what that was.
Pokemon Go? I don't have a clue what that was.
That's not on our channel, and definitely not on the Wrestling Corner, which is on a Tuesday with Rowan and Simon. Then on a Wednesday, you've got the Top Corner, and which is where we talk about all the football, and we'll have a big pub quiz next week. And then on Thursdays, you've got the NFL Corner, which is live later tonight at 12 p.m. midnight. We're going live. We're doing live reactions to the NFL draft. Make sure to join us. Don't put your emails on screen, Will. That's a bad idea.
They just keep coming on randomly. I don't know what is going on.
We might as well leave before something happens that we don't know about on your screen, Will, and it'll all be gone to crap. Thank you very much, whoever's done this.
Thank God for that.
In the description below, make sure to check out The Athletic and check out all the good content they have. No ads, 7 days free, and 50% off the annual subscription. Make sure to check us out at midnight. Let's hope there's no more pop-up emails for Will, and we'll see you guys tonight at 12.